Did you watch the Rays game yesterday?
I stumbled upon the big inning.
That starts with a bunt.
Yep.
A bunt. A bases loaded bunt.
Notice the guy was back.
No. But it's what did they do? They played baseball, right. David.
Yes, they did. It's what they do, Mark. It's what they do. The hell with everybody else.
Got that right. What do you say, Benny? Morning, everyone.
Benny and the Jets.
Bet you Benny hates that song.
Probably depends on the mood. You know, a couple drinks in him the right night, he starts belting it out loud. Hell, he may even karaoke it.
Seconds.
Who's that?
No idea. I don't know why he thinks we need to hear cues.
We've been going without cues for over a week. Hell, Raiders, if they give us half of what they've given us in the past, it'll be a terrific series.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. You made it to Friday. We'll help you get you the rest of the way. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. FloridaSportsNetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Hope your week's gone well. Mark, how's your week gone? I got to admit, you look a little weathered on this Friday morning.
It's been a long week, David. Thank God it's Friday. But, hey, the weekend's coming, and you know what that means for me. Soccer and softball.
I was going to say, more coaching and parenting.
Yep, driving around for tournaments this weekend.
You know what you need to do, and I think all of us dads, and you know what? I think a few moms, if you're listening, you should chime in as well. You should pretend you're Major League Baseball, and you know how you used to, cut off alcohol right around the top of the seventh or the seventh inning stretch? Now, life's going faster than ever before. I say you keep on going through the eighth inning. Just keep serving drinks.
So what you're saying then is you want to be the Diamondbacks, Rangers, Twins, and Brewers?
Well, and that's just for now. We're just mid-April. You wait to see how many teams are on board. Have to admit, I've seen a bunch of poll questions. Do you think teams should be serving drinks till the end of the game? 70% are, hell yeah.
Of course they are.
Hey,
Never
you
really,
brought up
never really understood that we can let you drink 47 beers, but please calm down for the half hour before you drive home.
right. You're already hammered, okay? But for legal reasons, we're going to put on a good show. Well, we stopped serving drinks. Yeah, but you started serving them 2 hours before. That's true. We did let him in for some BP. All right. He did hit that one concession stand that opened right away. That's the one that took cash. Hello.
Don't be knocking the Rays, the Trop, and everything that is Tampa Bay Rays right now, because all they do is win 162-0. It's coming, baby.
Here we go. One game above 500. The rest of the way, they're winning 88. I'm telling you, you laughed at me the other day when I put an X next to them because they had clinched a playoff spot. Division lead's already 5. Lead for that last wild card spot's like 8. Let's go. I'm a week away from magic numbers. Are you kidding me? Love this team. And not just because we were on them, too. 2 weeks ago, yesterday, at the opener, excited, the whole deal, had a fun show. But we both have the Rays going far this year.
And regardless of that, they do play a different brand of baseball.
I would argue they play baseball.
What was the big play yesterday, David? What was the key play in the Rays win yesterday to close out the Sox and sweep Boston yesterday afternoon?
It was a bunt for a base hit, Mark.
A bunt for a base hit. That was the big play. That was the key play of the game, was a bunt for a base hit.
Not only that, this team is so talented. They had a 7-run inning, and the game still took 2 hours and 20 minutes. God, I love this team. Game was over right at 3:30.
Bases loaded, bunt.
Who's that Nats announcer? I don't know if you've heard the call of when the Nats won the World Series in 2019. His thing is, if the Washington Nationals, it's a W, and it's kind of a crazy-looking W. And when they won Game 7 of the World Series, his call was, and you put the curly W in the books. That's what the Rays are doing. All right, let's pick a time. Let's put this W in the books. How about 3:30? 3:30 it is. Let's go.
But you better start watching when the game starts because they're moving.
Yep. 4-game sweep of the Red Sox. Red Sox haven't won there in a while.
I think that's 13 in a row in the Trop that
right.
Tampa's beaten Boston.
Right. That's like all of 2022 and the first part of 2023.
Let's get to the important part of yesterday's game. We have an over-under number.
Yes, we do.
14,000 and change.
It's 14,618.
Thank you very much. And we thank you.
You've been sitting next to the PA announcer or near the PA announcer way too many times. It's those 1,200 broadcasts and late in either the half of a basketball game or the third period of the hockey game, and they announce the attendance and they go, and the Charlotte Checkers, thank you.
It's my youth. It's my minor league hockey youth growing up in Saginaw, Michigan. Tonight's attendance at Wendler Arena, 4,812. And we thank you. It's just one that stuck up there, David. I can't do anything about it. But last night, or yesterday afternoon, I should say, over-under, you better be going over, folks, because they packed the place. And by packed the place, we mean they did far more than our over-under number, 21 and change. 21,175 for a afternoon game.
They did 6,500 more than the over-under number. What is this, opening day? Not only that, kids were in school. People were supposed to be working after the Easter holiday. We had a lot of hooky that was played yesterday. How about that? Yeah, I know, $10 tickets still. People, apparently, it's one of the 5 toughest things to do in North America is to travel to a Rays game. That's what I've heard over the last 25 years. It's one of the 5 most. We could balance a budget before I could travel to and from a Rays game. That's how demanding and hard and nearly impossible it is to travel to go see the Tampa Bay Rays play. So I don't care how cheap the damn tickets were. 21,175. Let's go. Hell, let's sell $10 tickets the rest of the year. How about this marketing idea? You're the marketing guy. I'm the guy who comes up with 99 bad ideas hoping for that one. Maybe this is the one. Since they're going to go on the road for a while, they're probably going to lose at some point. I know.
What?
I know. Just keep that between us. How about, since the winning streak was at 13 the last time we saw them, how about if you're the Rays, you announce tickets for the rest of the year, whatever this streak gets to. If it stops at 13, 14, 15, whatever it is, okay, announce, there you go. That's our ticket price for the rest of the year.
I love it.
And this our 25th anniversary season. Okay, the longest winning streak in team history. In honor of the 2023 Rays, we're selling tickets for the rest of the year for whatever.
I love it. Won't happen, but I like your idea.
What do you? It's gimmicky, but it get the point across.
Day of walk-up tickets are all X. I love it. It won't happen, but it's a great idea.
All right. Just so I'm glad that's the one. Now, you don't have to call on me in the back of the room. Even when I raise my hand, teacher, you just go, well, he's not good for another one for a while.
We've got a couple months before we can call on Moulton here.
And it's like, I'll call on him right before Father's Day. Let him think I still value his opinion. So, and getting back to the beer sales, one of the great quandaries in life is coming up beginning Monday. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs, and all these teams stop selling beer as soon as they drop the puck to start the third period. Well, hell, we could not even be halfway through the game.
And the playoffs, at least in the East, are set. Florida Panthers meet the Boston Bruins.
Bye-bye. So long. Farewell. It was nice. It was fun.
Good run.
Yep. Congratulations. You came back. You snapped the Penguins playoff streak at 16 years. Good for you. Good for you. Mm-hmm. If I were you guys, I'd call John Tortorella. He was the head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets 4 years ago when they were running into the buzzsaw that was the Tampa Bay Lightning. And you may just want Paul Maurice should just say, hey, Torts, how the hell did you sweep that Lightning team? How'd you make that happen? And he could say, well, we came from 3 goals down to win game 1, and it pretty much snowballed from there. But, historic team, just like the Lightning were 4 years ago. Lightning got swept in the first round. We'll see what happens to the Bruins. It could be both Florida teams, Mark, taking their shot at Boston. Florida in the first round. If Tampa Bay gets by Toronto, Lightning get them in the second. Let's do this. Think you're big, bad Bruins? Get through Florida. Yeah.
The hockey state.
Yeah. That's after we were just the basketball state.
Taking over everything.
Of course, basketball season could end tonight. In Florida, anyway. Got a lot going on. Miller and Moulton. And one of our listeners, did you see this, Mark? One of our listeners put up a poll question mid to late afternoon yesterday. Because our producer, Felipe, which has been well publicized by now, he scheduled his own vacation and he just left, even though he didn't have the vacation time and didn't have anybody to fill in for him. And believe it or not, Miller and Moulton were still, happy to let him come back. Listen, we didn't change the key, and we let him in the door. It just, we worked.
Trust me, I thought about going in engineering and having his key canceled.
So
that's not a joke.
And then he was flying in and out of Fort Lauderdale. And if you've paid attention in the last 36 hours, you know that, Noah, in an ark kind of set up shop there. And so that airport's been closed. And so when a listener found out at like 3:00 yesterday afternoon that the Fort Lauderdale airport was going to be closed until this morning, he put up a poll question that said, will Felipe be a part of the show today? And no one.
Of course it did. I told him when I saw him, I didn't expect him till Sunday. I figured we get a text Sunday night saying I'm back in town.
Well, for the record, young Felipe is back. How dare all of you doubt him? He's like Lewis and Clark, for goodness sakes. Doesn't matter the weather, doesn't matter what is in front of him. He would make his way back to the show, albeit a day late.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Go Raiders. My point is, I don't think there's one Tampa Bay Lightning fan that cares about the Florida Panthers. That's my point. Maybe it's a rivalry to Florida Panther fans. It's not a rivalry to Lightning fans. That's what I believe. Got to have two sides to have a rivalry. And Tampa doesn't even consider the Florida Panthers a hockey franchise. Now, if Florida would have won the series a year ago, would have been different. Well, if Florida can beat, they got to play Boston. They're not going to beat Boston. They don't make the playoffs. I mean, the fact that they made the playoffs 2 years in a row is remarkable for that franchise.
No, I don't think they'd say the Orlando Guardians.
But I get your point, Adam.
Now, I'll say this. If the Panthers could beat the Bruins and we get a Panthers Lightning second round series for the second year in a row, now we're talking.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Hope your week's gone well. Let's finish strong, shall we? Get you to the weekend and, hopefully you can relax a little bit. It seems as if it's been a long week. I know I said that yesterday, but it just seems talking to a lot of people for whatever reason. Some weeks just feel shorter than others. Some weeks just feel longer than others.
This is a tough week for people. There's a little bit of money that's perhaps due for a lot of people this week.
Had to bring that up, huh?
Well, I mean, that makes it a long week.
Had to bring that up. I was kind of numb yesterday. I mean, for a good chunk of the day. It started Wednesday night. Got the call late Wednesday as to what the damage was. I just kind of stumbled around for a while, bounced off a few walls, wandered off into traffic. Was lucky not to get hit. I actually sat down in the turn lane in the middle for a while. Was hoping somebody would come from one direction or another, but no, I had to get up, walk back across the street, put the check in the mail the next day. Whoo-wee. Good times. Good times. Thanks, Mark. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons it's been a long week for a lot of people.
Well, you know what? You might have touched upon something. I thought I had done a pretty good job. I had already forgotten about it. I had.
But the week's not over yet.
Once I got that sucker postmarked, it was like, well, okay, that's it. We're starting over. We're this 0-0. Let's go. Let's
2023. Woohoo.
exactly. I got the number 1 pick of the draft as far as I'm concerned, deciding whether I'm going to keep it or trade it. Let's go.
Well, if that doesn't cheer you up, this will, David. And I mean that completely sarcastically, because every day I always check, because we can maybe get a poll question on it. What day is it today? What stupid national day is it today? Do you know that today is National Ex-Spouses Day? Of all days that there is not a need for.
Why?
Thank you. Who decided to come up with this day?
Here's my question now. Do we know, what does it take to get a day?
That's a hell of a question.
I mean, I'm curious now, what does it take? Do you need like 7 people to sign a petition? Do you have to get your entry in by a certain date? Is this like Publishers Clearinghouse? What do you need to get a day? I mean, for goodness sakes, a grilled cheese sandwich had a day earlier this week.
A grilled cheese sandwich deserves a day. An ex-spouse does not. What's more valuable to you?
Well, I mean, sometimes an ex-spouse does help you, bring one of your children into the world. I mean, a grilled cheese sandwich or one of your children. I mean, I know it's a tough question.
Here.
I know it depends on the day. I get it. A little bit later in the show, when you're hungry, I could ask that question again. You'll go with the sandwich. I get it.
I mean, I guess if you're an ex-spouse that received alimony from the other spouse, you could think of it as a really good day.
You mean where you just think of this day as Bobby Bonilla Day?
Yes.
Which, by the way, Bonilla and the Mets get a bad rap. I mean, hell, Ken Griffey Jr. is the 3rd highest paid guy on the Reds payroll this year, making 3 times what Bobby Bonilla's making, by the way. Griffey's making 3.5 this year. We digress.
I think it's just that Bobby's has been going for so long.
Oh, yeah, it just totally. And not only that, it was such a small amount of money. They owed him like between $8 million. And instead, they agreed to pay him like $35 million over 30 years. And they're like, "Oh, no. You'll make a lot more money, but so will we. We're investing with this Madoff guy. You should see the returns we're getting on our money." But Neil went, "Yeah, okay. Yeah, sounds good to me.
You say so.
Yeah. Knock yourself out."
One hell of a 401k.
Yeah. But seriously, do we know what it takes? I mean, obviously, this has got to be like a Hollywood, Walk of Fame, how you get a star. Somebody's got to nominate you. I'm guessing there's a vote somewhere, somehow, some committee, something.
Now I'm interested.
I'm big into votes, Mark. Halls of Fame and what have you. I'm big into votes. So I'm guessing it's like the Hollywood Walk of Fame. That's how you get a day named, and all of a sudden today's like, National Take Your Kid to School Day. Okay. Somebody nominated it, got the right people to rubber stamp it.
National Take Your Kid to School Day, huh?
Don't laugh. I'll bet you there is one.
I bet you there is too.
There's Take Your Kid to Work Day. I mean, heck, while you're filling out the motions, just go, to work, to school, to the ballpark. I mean, here, I'll nominate all of them.
To a park. We can do all of it.
Right. Heck, there's probably on a Monday, all right, National Take Your Kid to School Day. And if you had a sense of humor, that Friday, you'd have National Pick Your Kid Up from School Day. I mean, if you had a sense of humor.
Well, they definitely do, because today is National Ex-Spouses Day.
Wow. Please tell me there's something else along with today that we can celebrate.
Not a lot of good ones. I mean, National Gardening Day today, National Pecan Day today.
Are pecans worthy of a day? Are they good enough that they're worthy of a day?
I believe so.
Really? You think pecans have a lot of flavor?
I think a pecan pie is one of the most glorious things on the planet.
Oh, wow.
Pecan pie itself could have its own day.
Wow. Wouldn't touch it. Honestly, you could get out of prison or you could have the pecan pie. I'd be like, I need a minute. Let me think about that.
Wow.
I must have had a bad one. That's all I could tell you. I must have had a bad one. Maybe I'll give it another shot. That's all. Just saying.
I don't know. Pie should make you happy. My mom showed up with a strawberry pie yesterday. It was fantastic.
Wow. On a Thursday? She
Yeah.
just showed up with a strawberry
Showed
pie?
up with a strawberry pie. She and the
Man.
daughter went strawberry picking on Monday, and she made jam and pie.
Wow. That whole retired thing sounds great. What are you going to do today? You know what? I got nothing going on. I'm going to bake my son and daughter-in-law a pie. Huh. Wow. It sounds like a full day. Yeah. Then I'm going to watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy and call it a day.
Call it a day.
All
If I can
right.
sneak a nap in at some point, this will just be glorious.
By the way, speaking of naps, the USFL starts this weekend, Mark.
Oh, good. Multiple spring football leagues going on simultaneously.
Exactly. Here's my favorite. I'm not kidding. I made myself a note. So apparently they are having games at 4 different sites this year. Remember last year, year one, all the games were in Birmingham. So this year, the games are in Birmingham, Memphis, Detroit, and Canton, Ohio. Hello. Now, they did have the semifinals and finals in Canton last year because Birmingham was hosting the World Games and they needed a place to play the playoffs and the finals. So, but otherwise, the whole regular season was in Birmingham. Mark, there are 2 games on Sunday. Michigan and Houston are playing in Memphis. Pittsburgh and New Orleans are playing in Birmingham. I am going to make sure I turn on the TV just to see if there are 100 people at either of these games.
What are the sites again they're playing?
That's right. Michigan and Houston are playing in Memphis. Pittsburgh and New Orleans, the Maulers and the Breakers, are playing in Birmingham.
You know, there's part of this that we could have fun and just name the team and you have to pick what league it's in. XFL, USFL.
Oh, wow. Is that like Dead or Canadian?
It's
like
in
the morning show game?
It's a relative.
So XFL, USFL, defunct. How about that? Those are our options.
Really good. And if you could name what league the defunct team was in, you get a bonus point.
Totally.
Miller and Moulton, the starting 5 coming up on the other side. We thank you so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. According to that Super 70 Sports, David, the tweet, 1991, Andre Dawson was called out looking by Cowboy Joe West and then ejected for arguing the call. He was fined $500 by the National League and paid it via check with the memo line filled out, donation for the blind.
I saw the video of it yesterday in which the ball was outside and Dawson loses it, throws like 15 bats out onto the field. Manager got ejected. Cubs fans threw beer stuff out from the bleachers, littered the outfield.
Now let's see what caused him to get angry. They're still talking right now about the location of the pit.
Good for you, Johnny Mac, by the way. How far out were you?
George Bell did his best to get in between them.
I love the unloading of the dugout. Ambient heat, I do not. That would require me to know who's in each league. Oh, there it is. We just got our 9th player for our travel soccer team. We got a full team, David. Big text just came through.
Damn. Sure you were hoping for a forfeit tonight.
No, it's Saturday. There's 2 games Saturday and 1 Sunday. I go all weekend. I don't stop.
Good. 2 on Saturday. Yeah, 1 would be not enough.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Heck of a show lined up for you this morning. Scott Jackson. Apparently, Daniel Snyder's selling the team. No, really. We'll just get Scott's reaction as a D.C. area resident and then ask the guy who covers the games and has for a long time his thoughts. We'll preview the Heat. Could be the last game of the year tonight. Hosting the Bulls. Bulls are undefeated against the Heat this year. Alejandro Solana, part of the Heat Radio Network, will join us. And Kevin Weiss talking about those Baker's dozen Rays. Huh? Yeah, baby. That's what we got lined up for you coming up beginning in about an hour. But right now it's time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting 5 on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
4 series, 4 sweeps. Remember Moses Malone back in the day? He was asked, what do you expect to happen in the playoffs? And he went faux, meaning they were going to win in 4, and win in 4. And the Sixers in 83 were so good, they won in 4, they won in 5, and they won in 4. Well, the Rays just went 3-3-3-4. Tigers, Nats, A's, Red Sox. Line them up, knock them down. 9-3 the Rays yesterday before 21,000 and change at the Trop. They tie the mark set by the 82 Braves and the 87 Brewers, who both started their seasons 13-0. There's apparently a team in 1884 that started the year 20-0. So the Rays are trying to be, the best start in nearly 140 years tonight when they're in Toronto. Blue Jays are a good team. They're 8-5. We'll see how they do. Tampa Bay was losing 3-1. They scored 7 in the 5th. What got the rally going, Mark?
A bases-loaded bunt single.
The drive in a run, and let's go. Let's do this. Red Sox held to 4 hits. Rays still have hit more homers than they've allowed runs. Homers 32, runs 30 in 13 games. 2 hours, 20 minutes, by the way, the game took. Started at 1:10, 3:30, you're out of there. Bada bing, bada boom.
But Springs left the game with an elbow problem. That's 2 pitchers that have gone down here in the last week. Not what you want to see.
No, he said, I didn't feel anything pop, and it just feels like something got aggravated. He's trying to give the impression that it's going to be like a 15-day IL stint as opposed to, oh boy. So we'll see. Needless to say, we'll find out in the next 24 or so hours if it's just an inconvenience or if it's an, oh boy. You know, we talked about the Yankees' dominance of the Twins yesterday at the end of the show.
We did.
Now, it was at the end of our bonus hour. So, you know, those in Lake City and Tampa, St. Pete, and Port Charlotte, they may not have heard it. But the Yankees have owned the Twins for 20 plus years. I mean, they have a winning percentage of over 75% against the Twins. It's a gaudy record. It was like 110-34 heading into last night's game. Well, the Twins scored 9 runs in the top of the first. 28 minutes the top of the first took. 28 minutes. 9-run first. They cruised 11-2. Twins are 9-4. If it wasn't for the Rays, they'd have the best record in the AL. Orioles got an Adley Rutschman solo homer in the 9th. They beat Oakland 8-7. A's, worst team in the league at 3-10. But let me tell you, Tigers they're trying. Did you see what happened to Javier Baez last night, Mark?
Yeah, I got benched.
So he benched 2 starters before the game because, you know, the Tigers went into the game in Toronto 2-9. AJ Hinch, who's a nice guy, he's getting a little annoyed. 2-9. So he benches 2 regulars. And then Baez early in the game scoreless. He's on second, 1 out. Guy hits a deep drive to center field, and Baez is running like, you know, a baby's a base hit. And it wasn't. It was caught before the warning track. They throw it back to second, double him up. Baez is standing on third base going, oh, man, I screwed up. Yeah, A.J. Hinch said, yeah, you're done for the day. Sit down. Tigers did win, however, 3-1. Reds beat the Phillies 6-2. Phillies off to a 4-9 start. Pirates 5-0 over St. Louis. Pittsburgh's 8-5, and the Cardinals are 5-8. Brewers scored 1 in the 10th to beat the Padres 4-3. Milwaukee's 9-4. They got the best mark in the National League. Rays are in Toronto. Marlins, after the day off, are hosting the Diamondbacks. A win gets Miami to 500. They haven't been there since after the second game of the year. NBA tonight, Heat hosting the Bulls. Mark, I don't know if you've looked, so I hope you didn't. What do you think the spread is on tonight's game? Remember, the Heat were a 5-point favorite against Atlanta Tuesday and obviously lost by double digits. What do you think the spread is tonight?
3.5.
5.5. The Heat, who went 0-3 against the Bulls this year. Now, granted, only one of those meetings has been in the last 3 months. But they went 0-3 against the Bulls this year. They looked lousy Tuesday night. And they're a 5.5-point favorite against the Bulls. Winner of Chicago-Miami will be the 8th seed. They'll play Milwaukee. And they'll lose quickly. Game 7 o'clock on TNT, for those that are interested. The 9:30 games on ESPN, that's out west. It's Oklahoma City and Minnesota. T-Wolves, a 5.5-point favorite against the Thunder. Rudy Gobert expected to play for Minnesota after being suspended for the Lakers play-in game because he punched a teammate in the regular season finale. I mean, he punched him in the shoulder. I mean, come on. I mean, how big a deal can he punch him in the shoulder?
What would you have done, by the way? Because you seem to think that the suspension wasn't warranted. Like you seem to think that they should have been able to work something out.
I'm willing to bet a large amount of money that the organization didn't want to suspend him because they wanted to beat the Lakers. And he gave them a better chance to do that. And they did wear down in the fourth quarter in overtime, scoring a combined 16 points in those 17 minutes of basketball. And that's a large reason why they lost. But I think Rudy Gobert is very unpopular on that team. And I think the coaching staff talked to some of the other players, and the players basically said, you got to do something about this. So I think it was organization wanted him to play because why should we hurt the team for him being stupid? But the guys basically said, yeah, we hate that guy. You need to do something about this. I think there's going to be massive changes in Minnesota. But Gobert, they gave up 4 first-round picks and traded pick swaps and 4 other players. I mean, it's 8 or 10 players who got traded for Rudy Gobert. I mean, they're not going to, a year later, get rid of him? I mean, I think they get rid of Karl Anthony Towns before they get rid of Rudy Gobert.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, they should be able to get something. So anyway, one other NBA note, the coaches have a Coach of the Year award. The NBA has a Coach of the Year award, but the Coaches Association also, they select who they think's the Coach of the Year, and they selected Sacramento's Mike Brown. My guess is a little bit later on in the playoffs when the NBA votes, they'll also select Sacramento's Mike Brown. NBA playoffs, by the way, get underway in full tomorrow. NHL. Close to the regular season finale. It was for all but 4 teams. Tampa Bay, for what it's worth, shut out Detroit 5-0. Braden Point scored his 50th and 51st goals. Brandon Hagel got his 30th in the win. Tampa Bay will face Toronto in the first round beginning Tuesday. Toronto ended their season beating the Rangers 3-2. The Rangers will also begin their playoff chase on Tuesday, and they'll do so against the Devils, and that's because Carolina beat Florida 6-4. So Carolina wins their division. New Jersey's second. The Rangers are third. So the Devils and Rangers will face each other. Carolina's going to face the Islanders. And to the Panthers, congratulations. You made the playoffs, and now you get to face the 135-point, 65-win Bruins, who rallied in the third period to beat Montreal 5-4 yesterday. So the Eastern playoffs are all set. Boston, Florida, Tampa Bay, Toronto, New Jersey, New York, Carolina, and the Islanders. Out west, well, we still have to decide who's going to win the division, Colorado or Dallas. They both won yesterday. Dallas is a point ahead of the Avs, but the Avs have a makeup game tonight in Nashville. If they win it, they're the division champ. I think if they don't get a win, Dallas is the division champ because of regulation wins. Minnesota lost to Nashville 4-3 in overtime. Edmonton, 9th straight win, by the way. A franchise record, 9th straight win. Can you believe that?
That seems odd, doesn't it? With all the greatness that was in Edmonton for so long.
But, remember, you could have ties back then.
Right.
Edmonton 5-2 over San Jose. Connor McDavid's season, by the way, 64 goals, 89 assists.
That'll play.
153 points. He became, I think, either the 6th or 7th player to reach 150 points. Did you see the list? I mean, Gretzky's on it like 9 times.
Right.
Lemieux's on it like 3. But, it would surprise you who else is on the list. There's a couple there in which you shake your head and you go, I'll be darned. I think Yzerman's on it. He had the one season, 88-89. I believe Bernie Nichols is on it.
Ooh, with LA had the one big year, right?
You're right. And then he got traded for Gretzky. And
Espo on the list.
And I believe Espo. And then I think it's Connor McDavid. I think he became the 6th player to score 150 or more points in a season. Out west, by the way, it's Vegas against Winnipeg, Edmonton and the LA Kings. And then we're waiting to see, Colorado, Dallas, who wins the division, and then it determines the other 2 matchups. Finally, in Chicago last night, regular season finale for the Blackhawks. The organization announced before the game that they were not re-signing Jonathan Toews. So last night was his last game in a Blackhawks jersey. 15 glorious years. Obviously a Hall of Famer. Obviously number 19 is going to hang from the rafters. Taze, who hadn't scored in 3 months, scored a power play goal. Blackhawks lost, but who cares? The ovation and the emotion in the building was awesome. Awesome. But download it. Check it out. Standing ovations that lasted multiple minutes. Just really cool stuff. Daniel Snyder reportedly selling. He has a preliminary deal, Mark, with the guy who owns the 76ers and the Devils, Josh Harris. Josh Harris also has Mitchell Rales, who's a billionaire in D.C., and Magic Johnson as part of his ownership group. $6 billion and 50,000. 6.05 billion is the fully financed deal, but it's not signed yet. Still has to be approved by the owners, and they won't do that until their next meeting in May. Golf at the Heritage in South Carolina, Victor Hovland with a one-stroke lead at 7 under. Spieth, the defending champ, 4 shots back. John Rahm, 1 over, in danger of missing the cut. LPGA's in Hawaii. The big story, Christina Kim, who's basically retired, nearly 40 years of age, is 2 off the lead halfway through that championship. Great showing there for a very popular player. And at 8 minutes before the hour, that was
the Starting Five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
There's part of me that says John Rahm wants to miss the cut this week. Played a lot of golf last week. Now you've making me show up at this tournament the week after the Masters because this is an elevated event.
So when he did the media, they asked him, have you started thinking about your Masters meal? He went, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That I've thought about that more than anything else. And he said, I got the wine, I got the dessert, and he mentioned some dish that he was likely going with the appetizer. He said that. So I got those 3 figured out. He goes, everything else is up in the air. He said, I want to talk to Ali, meaning Jose Maria Olazabal. He goes, because, we're from the similar part of Spain. I want to talk to him about, what he went with. Don't necessarily want to do the same thing. So, he's already mentioned the chef that he's using and everything. Oh, yeah.
Pressure. That's, winning the Masters. Having to come up with what the champions dinner menu is. Now that's pressure.
I don't know. After what Scheffler did, he had sliders, for goodness sake. Don't you want to follow Scheffler's meal? That's the meal to follow.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles Or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Thanks, Axe. Appreciate it.
So Rory skipping the Heritage is going to cost him $3 million.
And actual money or just PIP money?
PIP money, but I mean, he would have gotten it.
Right.
10 seconds.
That's when you know you're doing pretty well. Your manager says.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Friday. Hope you've had a good week. Thanks for being with us once again here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Scott Jackson to join us coming up in 35 minutes. Is the Daniel Snyder era really over? I love it. He's got a deal, but it's not signed. And it means, by the way, that the Canadian billionaire who looks as if he's going to finish second, he can still jump in and win it, potentially. Yet everybody reported this thing as a done deal yesterday. There's no signature. It's Daniel Snyder. Seriously? Mark, what am I missing?
Well, David, Pat Kerwin has impressed upon us over the years that there are two things that a fan base needs: winning or hope. And when it comes to Dan Snyder, the entire league is in the hope category that this sucker is finally over.
Had a Commanders fan text me yesterday afternoon and said, if this is true, at some point, I will be flying to our nation's capital because there will be a parade of some kind. There will be a celebration of some kind by our long-suffering fans that this national nightmare is over.
You know, they won 60% of their games under Jack Kent Cook. They were a model franchise.
Oh, yeah. Went to 4 Super Bowls. Actually, trying to think if he owned them in 72 when they faced the Dolphins. I mean, it might have gone to 5 under Cook.
And won 43% of their games under Snyder.
Yeah, that's 3 out of 7, by the way. I believe the stat of the day is when you get $6 billion for your team, if you divide that by the number of playoff wins, that's $3 billion per win. I owned the team for 24 years, 2 playoff wins. Norv Turner, the head coach for one of them, I think his first year of ownership in 99. And then
and he hadn't had a chance to screw things up really in that first year.
No, but he did. He got rid of Norv. I mean, all he did was take him to the second round of the playoffs. He got rid of him. Brought in Marty Schottenheimer, who won 8 of his last 11 games, and he fired him. And then Joe Gibbs. Last time they won a playoff game was, I believe, in Tampa in the 05 season. I believe Washington went to Tampa. Bucks had won the division. The then Redskins were a wild card team. And Joe Gibbs and the Redskins went in there and beat Tampa in 05. They have not won a playoff game since.
So there is no doubt that part of the euphoria that you're feeling out there is just the fact that this might get done, David.
Right. He bought the team for $800 million. I think at the time that he bought it, it was the most that anyone had paid for any franchise in North America ever. 24 years later, he makes 7.5 times your investment. I don't know. I don't have a lot of investments. Don't have much of a portfolio, Mark, but that seems pretty good.
That's a decent return.
Right. Like I'm told if you start putting money away early, it adds up, interest and what have you. And next thing you look in your IRAs, that's not bad. Or the college fund is like Wow, I can almost pay for 2 semesters. So when you put 800 million down and 24 years later, the bank tells you, by the way, you got in early. That 800 million is now 6 billion. Huh? Wow.
Get me on that boat and get me the hell out of here.
I love the fact 6 billion is not enough. It's 6.05. 6 billion. I need just a little bit more. Could you just a little something for the effort? I can't quite make it to the office to sign these papers. Could you just throw a little bit more? If you threw in 50,000.
Well, isn't that 50 million? 6.05.
Oh, I'm sorry, 50 million. That's right.
It is.
Right, because 6.5 billion would be 6,500,000,000. So yeah, if you could just throw in 50 million, I could probably make it to the office to sign these papers. Price of gas and everything.
Need to fuel the boat.
Right. I'm not coming in for 6 billion. How about 6.05? All right, gas her up, Johnny.
Time to roll. It is amazing, though. I would think today that Commander fan is walking around the D.C. area with their head held high.
How many people do you think are wearing jerseys today? If you're a Commanders fan, in fact, I'll bet wherever you're listening to us from right now, if there's a Commander fan in your life, you will see something, a hat, a jersey, something about them in which they show their fandom. They feel as if they've been liberated.
That's the word, too. That's the word. That's the big winner right now is the Commander fan base.
Big loser, by the way, is Ron Rivera. Because he's got a year. He's going to get this year. And apparently he's going to get this year with Sam Howell. I don't know if that's the quarterback I'd want if my career is hanging in the balance.
Make a dadgum good point right there.
Right. You got 1 year to prove whether or not I should keep you. Oh, okay. That's cool. I'm fine with that. Who's our quarterback going to be? I'm thinking Sam Howell, 5th rounder from North Carolina. He played 1 game last year. What do you say?
2-3 years ago where this division was, you might have been able to pull something off with a Sam Howell, but the division's changed quite a bit.
It sure has. It sure has. So, as long as Daniel Snyder was there, Ron Rivera was damn near untouchable. Somebody with credibility had to run the damn franchise. Maybe that 50 million is for Rivera. Maybe the 6 billion's for the Snyders, but the 50 million is a parting gift from Snyder to Rivera going, listen, we all know you're done after this year, but here you go. A little something for the effort. Thanks for putting up.
But if you think Daniel Snyder's keep selling or giving or sharing any part of that 6.05 billion with anybody, you're crazy.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But it looks as if the Commanders are finally sold and the league can move on from its worst owner.
Which now begs the question, who's the worst owner in the league or sports?
Well, in sports, it's Dolan.
As a person, without question. Okay, you could argue also his record. The Knicks record in 20 years has not been good. The Rangers record's been pretty good, but I'm fine if you vote Dolan number 1. I just want to throw this out there, though. How many owners have been worse than Michael Jordan in the last 10, 12 years? That is a franchise that literally could relocate. Could get up and move. That's how irrelevant they are. That's how ineffective they've been. They could move. Would the league be better off if Charlotte moved to Seattle? Yes or no?
It would be better off.
No. Now, they'd have to realign. Some teams from the West would have to move east and what have you, but we could do that. It's kind of ridiculous. New Orleans is in the West, don't you think?
And Minnesota, for that matter.
Yeah, but certainly New Orleans. mean, if nothing else, put them back in a division with, Atlanta. They hate each other. The cities genuinely dislike each other. Kind of want them playing 6 times a year if I could. We got people recommending Stephen Ross. Okay. Stephen Ross, Michael Jordan.
There's a few others. I mean, I know Sacramento just should make the playoffs. The owner of the Sacramento Kings would have been on that list.
Right. And he's kind of crazy, too. I mean, he hires and fires people like,
Would the Johnson family that owns the Jets be on the list, if you really think about it?
Last 10, 12 years, sure. And one of them walked away for a few years to become an ambassador. And they're still terrible.
What a gig.
The Oakland A's owner, I think, would have to make the list. Although they've actually been really good on the field for a few years, quite a few years.
Whoever owns the Pirates.
Yeah.
Could argue right now what the Ilitches have done in Detroit over the last decade, even though they built up a lot of goodwill with how good the Red Wings were. Look at what the Tigers and the Wings are. They're terrible. They're terrible.
Yeah, it's funny, though. I don't blame the Ilitch family. And I know the old man's been gone for a while. I don't blame them. I blame the people that they hired. And they may be stuck with. I mean, listen, Dombrowski put all his chips in to win one for the old man. And they were going to have to retool. The problem was they hired the wrong guy to retool, and they stayed with him way too long. The Red Wings, 25 consecutive years, and then, they stayed with the one guy too long, but they brought in Yzerman. They're doing it right.
They're trying to fix it.
Yeah, they're a year away.
But you're talking the last 10 years, it's been pretty ugly. When you put that short time frame on it, there's a lot of owners that have.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's a lot of franchises that have had a rough 10, 12 years.
And I mean, I guess if you're really doing that and sticking to Detroit, you just go the Ford family and the Lions have to be up at the top of the list.
Well, that's true. That's true. And you might as well put them on that list now before they go do something crazy like win the damn division this year.
Which they're picked to win as of right now based on over-unders.
Wouldn't that be something? The Lions winning playoff games. George Herbert Walker Bush was president the last time they won a playoff game. They've won one playoff game in 65 years. One. Wouldn't that? The Sacramento Kings made the playoffs and the Lions are favored to win the North. What in the wide world of sports is going on?
We will go to Washington coming up in 25 minutes' time. Scott Jackson will join us. Alejandro Solana in the 8 o'clock hour and Kevin Weiss to talk Rays. All still ahead on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill.
The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Diver Down was released 41 years ago today.
Arguably the worst Van Halen album ever.
Little Guitars was pretty good.
Hmm?
Little Guitars was really good. But yeah, that was the that was the Dancing in the Street, Pretty Woman, Where Have All the Good Times Gone album. You know, that's after the first few albums, it was like, this is soft.
I do like Where Have All the Good Times Gone.
Do we have a play of the day?
Yes.
Tough to argue with that, Ambien. Good morning, DC. Well, Johnny Mac, we weren't asking the best Van Halen albums. We're just talking about it was 41 years ago today they released Diver Down. We're talking about Diver Down.
Ten seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Did you pay any attention at all? And I don't mean watch, because if you did, we need to talk. But did you pay any attention at all to the Gators spring football game last night?
I did not. I honestly.
So you didn't read a write-up afterwards, take a look at your Twitter from people who were tweeting from it, because it was so bad.
How bad was it?
Thank you, Gene. That's Gene Rayburn and Match Game. That's our reference right there. It was so bad. Lane Kiffin sent out a tweet. He took a picture of the screen with 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and it was 7-7. And he put emojis on top of the pictures, mocking the Florida offense. Listen, I understand it's football in April, but man, did their offense look bad. It didn't matter which quarterback, which unit. It was not good. I don't want to hear about defenses ahead of offense this time of the year. I don't want to hear it. At one point, they were averaging less than 2 yards a play. That point was the middle of the second quarter.
This defense for Florida is going to be unbelievable next year.
Outstanding. Right.
See the spin?
Go for it. Don't get me wrong. I do think, the coaching's going to get better on that side of the ball. Yeah, okay, fine. Players will get better. Yeah, sure, fine, whatever. Oh, man. Yeah. This was the first impression of the, transfer quarterback from Wisconsin.
Well, an all-new revamped offensive line that we talked about.
Right. That's why we're not high on them. They're losing 4 out of their 5 starters on the offensive line. They're taking a step back at quarterback. Tell me again how they're going to be better? Their schedule's hard. I mean, it's on everybody's top 10 hardest schedule list, on some people's top 5 hardest schedule list. I mean, I hope Gator fan can be patient. You're not going to win more than 7 games. No way. Name the bet. Name it. And I just sent a lot of money to Uncle Sam. Name the bet. You're my ticket back to prosperity if you're betting over on 7.5 with the Gators. Whew. Man. They needed to, how sometimes, Mark, you need to not make the spring game public?
That was the case last night.
Yes. I feel badly for Gator fan. They'd had a really good week, too. Not only that, some kid who's got no business going pro off the basketball team announced last night he's going pro. Averaged 6 points a game. Alex Fudge. What the heck, dude? Please tell me you're not signing with an agent. Please tell me that when you don't get drafted, you can come back.
By the way, that schedule that David was talking about includes games at Utah, at Kentucky, at South Carolina, at LSU, at Missouri. Home games outside of the cupcakes, Tennessee, Arkansas, Florida State, and they play Georgia and Jacksonville.
There's no way the over-under is above 6.5. There's no way. There's a chance it could be 5.5. with where they are right now, that's a tough schedule. I hope Gator fan can be patient. Because year 2, this ain't going to be Urban year 2, Jim Tressel year 2, Pete Carroll year 2. Go right on down. This ain't Bob Stoops year 2. It ain't going to have one of those year 2s. Kirby year 2 played for the national championship, won the SEC. We ain't going to have one of those year 2s in Gainesville. That ain't happening. How about what's his face at Tennessee last year, year 2? You're not having one of those either.
This is going to be really interesting to see how the Gator fan handles this, because it could get ugly.
Really? You mean all back-to-back 6 and 7 seasons? You think if they have another one, they might be in a foul mood?
They're already in a foul mood. They've genuinely disappeared in the fall. And they're a group that doesn't like to disappear in the fall, David. They like to get a little loud, a little obnoxious, a little in your face from time to time.
Oh, yeah, and while they've had back-to-back 6 and 7 seasons, Georgia's won back-to-back national championships.
Yeah, and Florida State's preseason, going to be preseason top 10.
Right. And John Ruiz, his business is apparently going south, but the money he's got left, he's spending on the Miami athletic department.
So take your nerd wallet right there.
Hey, it's time to do something we haven't done in over a week.
No, we haven't. Apparently, it's time for the play of the day. Someone on the other side of the glass, go ahead. Who are you?
Biggest Rays fan. The Rays team now. I think so. How could you pick anything else but one of the greatest starts in MLB history? The Rays refuse to lose. They are 13-0.
There's a swing and a high drive into right center field. This should do it. To his left, Manuel Margot is there. Would you believe 13-0 to start the year? The Tampa Bay Rays have swept the Boston Red Sox 4 in a row, and they tie a major league record by starting the new season 13 wins in a row.
The Rays now head to Toronto to try to make MLB history with one of the greatest starts in baseball history.
How about that? Tampa Bay Rays, 25th season. This is ridiculous in such an awesome way. Andy
And just
Fried there.
drilling teams.
Yeah. Yeah, what? 2 games decided by less than 4 runs?
That's correct.
They had the 1-0 win over the weekend against Oakland, Brandon Lau's homer in the 8th inning, and then the 9-7 game against the Red Sox. The other 11 wins are all by 4 or more runs. That's ridiculous.
101-30 is the run differential.
13 games plus 71. They're winning games by 5.5 runs a game.
Next highest run total in the American League is the Orioles with 74.
Now, listen,
Dodgers have scored 79.
Now, there's no doubt that it's been helped by the fact that, they've played, well, now because they just swept the Red Sox, they've played 4 last place teams.
But I mean, the Tigers took 2 from the Astros. This is baseball. You don't go do this to teams. I don't give a damn who you're playing. And I'm actually getting sick and tired. Well, they played last place teams. Who sweeps 4 straight last place teams? It doesn't happen in this sport.
I agree. I do think, though, some of the runs that they've scored, when they start to face some better teams, they won't score as many runs. That's all. Face some better pitching than what they faced. But it's ridiculous. Re-damn-diculous. They're basically averaging 8 runs a game. The Tampa Bay Rays. And when we last saw them last year, they scored 1 run in 2 games against the Guardians. And one of those games went like 14 innings. 1 run. Now they're scoring damn near a run an inning. pretty much is a running inning because they're not playing the bottom of the ninth.
Another dadgum good point right there.
Think about that. They've yet to play a bottom of the ninth at home.
Miller and Moulton. We will switch gears and head to our nation's capital to talk to some Commanders with Scott Jackson. He is next on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Scott's on hold.
Cold pizza, the choice, by the way, this morning.
Where was the warm pizza from last night?
There was a once a month, they bring a food truck
Ah,
into the development, and they rotate it every month. And last night's was
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll look ahead to the Heat trying to extend their season tonight against the Bulls in a winner-go-home game. Alejandro Solana, part of the Heat Radio Network, he will join us coming up at the top of the hour, and more on the Red Hot Rays. 1 hour from now, Kevin Weiss, who hosts the Locked On Rays podcast, will join us. But Scott Jackson is kind enough to join us once again. Long-time part of the DC sports scene, part of the Commanders Radio Network. You can follow Scott on Twitter at Jackson Sports. Scott, it's David and Mark. Thanks for doing this. Can we ask you a personal question or two before we get to the professional stuff?
Okay, go ahead.
Just as Scott, not Scott Jackson, putting the Snyder era to bed, if we're actually going to do it, and in theory having the Commanders be a good, solid franchise again, like, how important is this to your life, to the friends that you have's life? I mean, how big of a deal will this be?
Well, let me just put it this way. I grew up in a house where on Sundays we watched every game together as a family. We turned usually the television sound down to listen to the local radio, which was back then Frank Herzog, Hall of Famers, Sonny Jurgensen and Sam Huff. So, I mean, this was literally what we did. And when I played like select soccer on Sundays, my dad coached, we would travel all kinds of places. We'd always have the radio on, listen to games. I mean, it was always the thing my dad and I would talk about when I was in college, when I was away from home, on the phone, what's going on with the Redskins, this kind of stuff. I mean, so I can't act like just because I'm in media now, I've lost all that. But there's no question it's been dulled and numb, and then, of course, covering it, too, does that to you a little bit. Over, the last 23, 24 years, I'll be honest with you, there's been many points in this time with him that I really thought, and this guy's, slightly older than me, this is never going to end. We're stuck in this forever, so it's a big deal. Like when it first, you kind of got the feeling he was headed that way, but you never really wanted to believe it. And I think I've talked to you about this before, David. I never really thought the owners would step up and force him out because it would set a terrible precedent. But obviously, we've been in like a 160 plus day process now since the news came out in November. And it's been getting closer and closer. And really, but when that day in November happened, when they said he was exploring it, then I knew it was over. But, you didn't want to get ahead of yourself. And so I was on the air yesterday when this happened. And, I asked people on the radio, is this like birth of a child stuff? Is this like marriage? Is it, winning a Super Bowl? If you want to put it in sports fans, are the ones that were old enough to remember that. But there's just generations of fans that never had any, good feelings about this franchise, no matter what it was called. So it's huge. I mean, it really is. And it's going to be good for commerce, I think, which hopefully will be good for guys like me that do this, try to do this for a living. So, but yeah, from a personal level, it would be exciting just to get back to, hey, it's, really just about Sunday, what happens, between the lines and not all the other crap, which we've had to, talk about over the years. And it's just gotten overwhelming.
I know this might sound like a silly question, but it seems like a day, during football season, people are wearing their gear on Friday to work. Today seems like a day that in and around DC, there's going to be more people wearing Commanders and Redskins gear than have in a long, long time.
I would think so. So we're doing a show today on 106.7 The Fan. I've been filling in this week with my buddy Brian Mitchell, who played for the franchise, obviously. in its glory years, was on the last Super Bowl team, and we're going to be at a local brewery, literally, across the street, if you will, half mile from where the Commanders' practice facility is today in Ashburn, Virginia. So, yeah, I mean, it's a little giddy. We're not going to lie. I mean, even though the ink isn't dried yet and all that stuff, but clearly, when Bezos announced finally yesterday that he pulled out, and he was kind of, I think at that point, I would imagine, hopefully someday he'll talk about this, tired of being used in this negotiation, even though, according to the Washington Post, who I will take on this source over everybody since it's his paper, that he was never allowed to participate in the process, really. Once he announced that, and then you had Fertitta saying, I'm out, I have $5.6 billion, I'm doing it. And this whole time, Rails and Harris have been steady, Harris and Rails and Magic Johnson Group has been steady about what they've been doing with their business and really kind of buttoned it up for the most part. I figured this thing would start to move pretty quickly, and we'll see. I guess there's still a chance, as we like to call him here, Stephen A., the Canadian billionaire Stephen Papadopoulos, which is a real tongue twister, could sneak in there and get it. But yeah, the fact that he has really no other avenues, he has to sell the team.
5 O's, by the way, in Apostolopoulos. So there's a reason why they call him Stephen A., the Canadian billionaire who looks as if he's going to finish second. Does it matter to Redskins/Commanders fan that it is Josh Harris and one of his partners is a local, and Josh himself grew up in Maryland, and is the Magic Johnson thing even relevant? Does it matter to the Commanders fan whether it's the Canadian billionaire or it's the guy who owns the Sixers and the Devils?
Well, I think there's a good faction will say anybody but Dan, doesn't matter. But I do think there is some appeal, certainly for the local group. Although, hey, Dan was local, right? He grew up here. It was a Redskin belt buckle used to brag about all the time and all this stuff. And he then didn't know that Bobby Mitchell's jersey shouldn't be issued to a player, but whatever. So, we went through that before. But look, Josh Harris, I think the bigger part about Josh Harris beyond the local ties and Mitchell Rails bringing in is I think was a home run move on his part. He's a really well-respected guy. Matter of fact, he and his brother started the sports talk radio industry here in Washington. They were the founders of what is now Sports Talk 980, but it was Sports Radio 570, the team back in the day when he and his brother were the owners of that in the early days. Guy's done a lot of great things here locally, built in the art world. He and his wife, it's pretty incredible. But getting back to the thing about the thing with Harris, I think that's most appealing. The fact that he's been in pro sports, he's obviously with the partner, share of the Steelers, which he's going to have to get rid of. It's not a big deal, but obviously, he's the head owner of the 76ers, also part owner of the New Jersey Devils. So he's been in the pro sports world. It's funny talking to people in Philadelphia. They don't really have much of a file on him in terms of, oh, he did this or did that. They just know what his teams do. He's not an out front kind of guy. That's why I think Magic Johnson comes into this group, kind of gives them a face to the franchise, a guy who probably has a political clout and is going to be good for you when you come down. He's done a lot of business dealings here in this area over the years with Magic Johnson Enterprises. So I think that's appealing for them too, with him coming into it. And again, Rails is just he's a steady local guy as well. So with obviously billions of dollars, which helps. So I think that is appealing. We really don't know much about Stephen A. Outside of the fact that he's young and he's got a lot of money. There was some reports he went to Harvard, and then that ended up not being true. So I think there's still some mystery behind him. And some of the reporting this week said he was actually, dialing for money at this point. He wasn't really quite his situation was not nearly as solid as these three gentlemen. And I think relationships, as usually are what move these things. And Magic has had a bit of a relationship over the years with Dan Snyder, and has met him, has been in meetings with him about stuff. So I don't think that hurts. And I would imagine Mitchell Rails and him have some form of relationship over the years, being two of the richest guys in the area. So I think those kind of things will probably move it. And for the NFL owners, remember, they got to approve it. Even if he wanted to push ahead, Apostopoulos, the NFL owners could stop it. I mean, it's up to them too. And they've already vetted this guy last year when he was trying to get the Denver Broncos. And this bid apparently is a little bit more solid than that. And heck, that bid was really good. They actually took a little less, I believe, from what I understand, with the Waltons, to get the Moulton family involved here with the Broncos.
All right. I mean, basically now what, because anybody but Dan, so this is just going to be a kumbaya year. Does it even matter what happens on the field this next year now that there's a new owner?
Excuse me. Yeah, I would say so. If you're Ron Rivera, it does. I think for the staff and for him, I mean, they've got to win. I mean, I don't think it's just like, being decent or being competitive. I think they really actually have to get in the playoffs and maybe even have to win a game at this point, I would think. I think they will get a bump at the box office. I understand yesterday from some fans that tweeted me that there were some people that were reaching out on behalf of season ticket sales that had those files that said, save for later. Because there's a lot of people that said, sure, I'll renew my tickets or I'll get tickets again, but you call me after this guy sells the team. So I think they've been dealing with that for quite some time. And they believe this is going to be a boon on the other side. They lost a lot of local sponsorships over the last few years, too, that people, maybe nationally aren't aware of. So I think that's a big deal. I mean, they lost a sponsorship with Budweiser, for goodness sake. It's hard to do, in the NFL, but they did. So, I mean, there's some money that's been left on the table because of his ownership, not to mention the stadium thing that's gone nowhere because, he kind of took the reins on it, which was the funniest part of all this. And maybe the thing that really woke him up more than anything, more than all these investigations and anything else, when he tried to go out there and realize that nobody, of 3 municipalities didn't even want to work with him. He couldn't get any headway with any of them. So I think, this year, sure, it's a honeymoon period for the owners, but from what I understand about, Harris, they want to win too. They're not out here to lose. And I think Rails understands, who's been a lifelong DC guy, how important it is to capture White Cannon. And just like from a bigger picture standpoint, guys, here, I'm sure you're aware of it, the rest of the team stink. I mean, right now, they're all terrible. I mean, the Nationals are not, I don't even know what they're doing. They're trying to do. Obviously, the Caps, partially because of injury this year, they're just kind of hanging on until Ovechkin retires, after he breaks the record, and then the Wizards are the Wizards. So, I mean, it's a real opportunity for them once again to grab the market and be the number one team, which they always are in people's hearts, even if they're mad at them.
Scott Jackson, Commanders Radio Network, and also DC Sports Radio host. Follow him on Twitter, Jackson Sports. So has there been any talk at all from either, potential ownership group about, hey, I'm going to build a new stadium. I want to go back to old RFK and build it on those grounds. I mean, or I'll go, to the suburbs even more. I mean, has there been any talk about that or no?
From like a media standpoint, obviously, this Harris group doesn't say anything. Literally the most we've gotten out of them that we knew how serious they were was when Magic Johnson was on the Today Show and admitted after the Final Four that, they have a bid in and they were hopeful and what have you. That's it, right? That's all we've gotten. But yes, everybody knows that is the first and foremost thing they have to do. Look, there's some fans that would like them to rebrand. My understanding, and I think John Keim at ESPN put this out this morning, you can't even rebrand for 5 years after you do it once. So that's Fantasy Island stuff, right? And then if you start winning over these next few years, people will get over that thing, right? Maybe tweak the uniforms, whatever. But yes, that's the first order of business, especially to have the meeting with DC. Muriel Bowser tweeted out, the DC mayor yesterday, pictured Doug Williams on the Sports Illustrated cover after Super Bowl 22. So look, they've been wanting to do this for a while. He was just so toxic. They could never get the political capital. There's so many, weird, hurdles with the site at RFK, it's federal land, this, that, the other, but that area needs to be developed. I mean, it looks like the Roman Coliseum now. It's embarrassing how bad it's falling apart. And they're just doing nothing with it right now because they don't have anywhere to go with it. They can't implode it, part of the EPA deal. So they're going to have to literally pull it down brick by brick. It's going to be crazy. But anyway, that's still the desired site. They own all the land at FedEx, like a big area around it where they could put it maybe closer to a metro stop. And then there's Virginia, which unless they move it closer to DC, really doesn't make sense. Nobody wants to drive down 95 into Prince William County on a Sunday for just anything, let alone a football game. I mean, it would be just miserable if they pulled that out. There'll never be public transportation out there that will make it worth their while. So that one seemed like one of the dumbest ideas they had. And they had a lot of dumb ones over the years here under his tenure. But when they bought that swath of land and said, they could put the team, basically down in Potomac, area where they call Potomac Shores now, which is really just, it's Prince William County, Woodbridge. So anyway, I think the DC thing's number one. They got to try that. And that's why I think the Magic Johnson part of this thing becomes very fascinating. I would imagine he will be in those meetings with Harris, with Rails, and he's the guy that people are going to want to get the picture taken with, people want to be involved with, and a guy that, has killed it off the court since he's been out of basketball.
Scott, Appreciate your time. Have a great show today. And I know you don't do a ton of this. You may want to take some pictures and post them on Twitter of all the people in Redskins Commanders garb that are going to stop by your show today.
I can imagine we're going to see more of a ladder, not the new stuff, but I'm with you. Thanks a lot, David. You have a great day.
Scott Jackson, Commanders Radio Network. Follow him on Twitter at Jackson Sports.
He sounded giddy.
Yeah.
Like the long nightmare is finally over.
A little bit of the kid in him came out there. Kind of like, you know what? Before I pack it in, my football team might be good again. Might be fun going to work and covering these games again.
Well, not that it wasn't all truth, but the 6 seconds I got is that when he said, Snyder's about my age, I thought I was into this for the rest of my life.
How could you not? I mean, you're not thinking he's going to sell, right? Who sells one of these things when you got him? I mean, Snyder's still in his 50s. Although $6 billion, I got to admit, I'd take a call. Harris finished second for the Broncos. So that's why that group was being pushed by the NFL. They want that group. Bezos, by the way, reportedly now is shifting his attention to the Seahawks.
Right. Whenever they decide to sell that franchise, he's ready.
Well, and they are going to sell it. It's just, and also he could probably get it for $2 billion less. Miller and Moulton. We'll talk heat on the other side.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. This is where the snob in me is going to come out, Canada Relief. When I stay at a hotel and they offer a free breakfast buffet, I'm scared.
I think you have to go by appearance at the free hotel breakfast. You just have to look at it.
I usually go with the anything I can toast to try to kill it.
I like my bacon crispier than not. So,
and most hotel bacon is not crispy nor good.
Right.
In those, it's fatty and
right. Undercooked. So yeah, a lot of people play it safe with the cereal at the hotel breakfast. I don't. I always look at that as that could be my fallback. I'll put a plate of food together and take a shot, and then if it's not that good, I can just throw it out. Don't care if I don't eat half of it, and throw it out, and then go hit the bowl of cereal.
AC just kicked on.
Oh, well, it's 8 o'clock. Oh, that's true. You've had over a week of warmth.
Comfort.
Right. Happiness.
Now I'm sitting on my hands.
Right. Great.
I wondered why I didn't go through as much coffee on the other side. My coffee lasted me literally the whole show, where I'm nearly out now because it gets cold and I start guzzling it to try to warm up. I don't know if Alejandro's not getting these links. Felipe, ask him if he's getting the links, because he's supposed to join us on StreamYard, and it doesn't look like that's happening when you talk to him. Don't text him, just when you're going to have to call him here in a minute. In fact, I'd call him now, and he can sit on hold for a minute. Yes, Canada Relief. There's no doubt there are a lot of waffle makers in cheap hotels.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the third and final hour of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com, at least in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. We're just halfway for those of you that listen in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. He's part of the Heat Radio Network, and it's winner go home time. Alejandro Solana. Follow him on Twitter, Alex, the letter M, Solana, Alex, letter M, Solana. Alejandro, David, and Mark, top of the morning to you. Who thought we'd be in this situation, huh?
I don't think anybody in the Heat organization would have thought they'd be here if you had asked them around October, November. This is unfamiliar territory for this organization, and certainly not the place you want to be in when you have Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero.
Well, obviously we know those three are all starting, but it looks like there could be changes to the lineup. What do you think they're going to do for a starting lineup? I know Spoelstra's talking about making changes for tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's super interesting that he says that because he's, known as somebody who I wouldn't use this word, but several people in Miami would, a person who's a bit stubborn with his lineups. So I think it's very interesting that he's doing that. Look, I think the obvious one, in my opinion, is Kyle Lowry. Scored 33 points the other night. Really was the only player that seemed to show up with that necessary intensity to win a what felt like a must-win game against Atlanta, right? Because, look, at the end of the day, the situation that they're in now is even if they win tonight, well, they get the Bucks in the first round. So that's been the best team in the NBA probably since the turn of the new year. And they're arguably the deepest team in the NBA with the best player in the NBA. He might not win MVP, but I don't think many people are arguing Giannis Antetokounmpo being the best overall player in the NBA. So it's already an uphill battle, even if you do win tonight, an almost impossible uphill battle. I do think the obvious one is Kyle Lowry in the starting lineup. You need a win tonight, win or go home. And Gabe Vincent the other day, he went down with an injury in the fourth quarter, ended up going to the locker room. He's questionable for tonight's game. But even if he was healthy, even if he is good to go, Kyle Lowry showed you that he can step up and play the minutes that you need from a starting point guard. And Gabe has just been too up and down all season long. He's done a nice job stepping in for Kyle when Kyle was out 15 games and has been dealing with injury, but he's just too inconsistent to be relied upon in such an important game. And then the other one, I think, is Max Strus. Max Strus in the starting lineup, we know that he's been able to give the Heat that three-point shooting and stretching the floor that they really wanted. However, the other day you saw when the Heat went small against the Atlanta Hawks, they just got torched on the boards. Kevin Love is somebody that they started after acquiring him at the All-Star break. I could see a situation where the Heat go back to Kevin Love tonight. He only played 3 minutes against the Hawks. Again, that rebounding discrepancy was pretty embarrassing for Miami on national TV. I mean, within the margins, they got torched the entire game. So I could certainly see a situation where they go back to Kevin Love in the starting lineup. And I think Kyle Lowry tonight is just a no-brainer for Miami.
Is this a personnel issue or is there something else going on? I mean, they had a game 3 weeks ago at home against Brooklyn where if they won it, they're out of the play-in. They're the 6th seed at worst. They get them at home, and Brooklyn torched them. Then Tuesday night, they get Atlanta at home, a team that they've had good success against this year, that they should match up pretty well. They do well against Trae Young. They get torched largely. For those of us on the outside, and you're closer to the inside, that looks as if it's more than a roster problem, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. You could make the argument that, maybe this roster in general has kind of reached its ceiling already. And what we saw last season, right, what everybody saw last season, which was being a shot away from the NBA Finals, was probably the best that this core of Jimmy, Bam, and Tyler was going to get. Now, the Heat didn't feel that way, right? The Miami Heat were the only team, theoretically, in the Eastern Conference who people were giving a legitimate chance at competing for the conference title that didn't upgrade their roster in the offseason. Go look at Boston. They made several improvements. Milwaukee didn't just upgrade in the offseason. They continue to upgrade throughout the season. Philadelphia went out and got some pieces. I mean, everybody, and obviously Cleveland adding Donovan Mitchell. The New York Knicks went out and had one of the biggest splashes in the free agency period. Every single team upgraded. And the Miami Heat, they felt like they could use that internal growth of guys like Gabe Vincent and Max Strus and Tyler Hero and everybody, and they lost PJ Tucker. I don't think that's a big deal, right? PJ Tucker's not having an incredible season, and they didn't want to pay him 3 years, $30 million to somebody who's going to be 41 at the end of that deal. But with that being said, they didn't upgrade. And you're looking at a situation now where several players failed to make that leap that they were hoping, the guys I just mentioned, and the team regressed as a whole. So I really think, the situation they're in right now happened because the Miami Heat in the offseason did not go out and make their roster better, period. And look, I mean, I don't think I certainly didn't expect them to be fighting for their lives versus the Chicago Bulls as an 18, who, by the way, the Bulls have beaten Miami 3 times this season. So I didn't expect that. They've just been so up and down. They're so inconsistent. They're unable to go out and beat teams like the Hawks that they should beat, that they match up well against. Of the 3 teams in the play-in, had you asked me going in, who would I prefer to play or who would I prefer the Heat to play in terms of matchups? I mean, it would have been the Atlanta Hawks just based on the precedent that they've set this season, playing them and beating them handedly, by the way. But you go back to that game against the Brooklyn Nets. It's such a perfect microcosm of this season. Not only were the Heat a half game ahead of the Brooklyn Nets, they had already beaten the New York Knicks a couple nights before on their home floor. They're half game of Brooklyn, who had kind of gone through a little rut there. They have a 14-point lead in the second quarter. A 14-point lead, double-digit lead in the second quarter, and they lose by 29 points. And then how do they follow that up? It's not by rebounding and putting themselves back in a situation where they can still get the 6th seed. They back it up by scoring 92 points in Toronto, and then on the second night of a back-to-back, 92 points in New York against the Knicks. That's who this team is. They've been unable to score the basketball all season long. Their defense hasn't been the defense that you're used to watching of a Miami Heat team, as evidenced the other night against the Atlanta Hawks, where they're unable to get rebounds and they're unable to box out and they're unable to stop second chance points. And even when their offense looked like it was getting better, it really wasn't, because it came at a consequence of giving up a ton of points on the other end. So this just hasn't been a typical Heat season that you're used to. They lack identity as a team. And again, it all kind of goes back to what happened at the start of the season, where the Miami Heat banked on internal growth. And unfortunately, that internal growth just wasn't good enough to get you in a situation where you'd be a title contender again.
That picture that you painted is not a good one. And it leads to, you said the matchup is not as good tonight against the Bulls. So how do they, I mean, it sounds simple to me, Alex, but they got off to a horrible start against the Hawks. How do you get off to a better start? Is it everything going through Butler early? How do you get this team off to a good start so they get a little confidence? Because right now they have none.
Yeah, no, I mean, the funny thing is, if tonight the team that can knock down 3-pointers at home shows up, well, then it's a different ballgame, right? Even though everything went wrong for them, Jimmy Butler didn't play well. He missed bunny after bunny after bunny in that first quarter, and Bam Adebayo just didn't seem to be that aggressive Bam that you had seen for a better part of this season. They were still within 5-6 points in that fourth quarter. A lot of it had to do with Kyle Lowry, right? But when you look at it, the guys that they rely on to knock down 3-pointers just didn't convert the other night. Max Strus had 3 points. Kevin Love played 3 minutes. Gabe Vincent had 6 points, I believe. So if tonight, I mean, first and foremost, if those guys come out early and are knocking down threes, well, then the Miami Heat are going to be in this ballgame, right? But, I mean, you have to rely on Jimmy. Everybody talks about playoff Jimmy. Playoff Jimmy Butler is the one that's going to lead them. Not many are better in the NBA than playoff Jimmy at this point in the year. I happen to believe that part of that is true, even though Jimmy Butler constantly downplays the idea that there's such thing as playoff Jimmy. I do think that he certainly elevates his game come playoff time, come the end of the season, as he has, by the way, since the All-Star break. He's been one of the most efficient players in the NBA. But the other night, I mean, he was far from playoff Jimmy. You need an aggressive Jimmy Butler who's converting at the rim and who's converting on both ends. And you need an aggressive Bam Adebayo. It starts there, because the other night, Kyle Lowry outplays DeJounte Murray, outplays Trae Young, and the Heat lose by double digits. And it's not because, Gabe Vincent and Max Strus and Kevin Love didn't play well, it's because your three best players did not play to the standard that you need them to. Tonight, you're going up against a team that gives you fits. DeMar DeRozan playing isolation has torched the Miami Heat this season. They struggle against really good two-way guards like DeMar DeRozan who are able to create their own shot. Zach LaVine has torched the Miami Heat this season as well. And Nikola Vucevic, historically, going back to his Magic days, he's been somebody that Heat have had big problems with. But here's the situation. I mean,
very quickly, running out of time.
Yeah, if you can't beat the Hawks and the Bulls at home in back-to-back games to make the playoffs, you probably don't even want to be there, right? Because those are two middling teams. And the Heat, they have to be able to figure it out tonight. They got to knock down shots, but Jimmy and Bam have to lead them there.
Alejandro Solana, part of the Heat Radio Network. Follow him on Twitter, Alex, the letter M, Solana, Solana. Alejandro, thanks and good luck tonight.
Appreciate it, guys. Take it easy.
Felipe, our resident Heat fan, wondering if maybe part of the lineup changes that Spo's talking about is maybe getting some of the guys buried on the bench, maybe playing them. Kevin Love, who only played 3 minutes. Felipe mentioned Omer Yurtseven there. He's a 7-footer. Maybe, Felipe. Maybe. We shall see. Heat facing elimination tonight at home against Chicago. If they win, they get Milwaukee.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
All right. I asked you earlier, it was 41 years ago today, Diver Down was released. It was 43 years ago today, in 1980, Judas Priest released British Steel. That's the one with Breaking the Law, Living After Midnight, Metal Gods.
You're rocking today, David.
Yeah.
Let's Dance was released today by Bowie.
Was it really?
I saw that earlier in the show on Albumism or whatever, the one I follow on Twitter.
Grinder was also on that Priest album. Living After Midnight. Gonna have to text Semesco.
And the Grease soundtrack was released today as well, David.
78.
Yep.
Difficult to explain how big that was.
Wow, Nance saying he's never had better chemistry with anybody than Tony Romo.
Don't get me started.
Are you aware of what I'm talking about?
Saw the whole thing. Saw the whole thing.
Surprised he even does the podcast stuff.
I'm such crap. The whole thing is a lie. The whole thing's a lie. Seriously, the whole podcast is a lie. It's a joke.
What else did I just saw some of the headlines. I just saw the closed captioning there.
Well, talking about then, about Phil and, basically, everybody was doing stuff. No, actually, nobody was doing shit. Koepka didn't make a birdie till 13. Okay. Nobody was making a run. That's why Phil posted and was second. No, it was kind of why it was like, well, you got to interview this guy. I mean, nobody else is making a run. He's a leader in the clubhouse. We were too busy. Too much going on. Really. That's funny.
Patrick Cantlay was taking another 2 hours to light up a putt.
Did you see the video that was released recently?
No, I didn't.
Cantlay on a tee. OMG. He's already addressed the ball. The video starts. It's 31 seconds. And he has just gotten into his stance on the tee. Took 30 seconds till he pulled the trigger on the shot. And you can look at all the stuff in the background. It's not edited. Nope. It is not edited.
By the way, Sled Puppy, I'm right there with you. Right there with you. Olivia Newton-John in the leather outfit did it for me in 1978. That was
Cheryl Ladd was mine. Had the poster on the wall. That's a good line, Canada Relief. Greece was huge in the spring, summer of 78.
10 seconds.
No, he didn't complain about Rahm going to the bathroom that many times. He said that's how slow Cantlay was.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
$21 past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Rays have won 13 in a row. Now they go on the road. North of the border, they go to Toronto. See, we're going to do a little Rays Jays before we do a little Leafs Lightning. We're doing the Tampa Bay Toronto thing for the next week and a half or so. Are we ready? Let's do this.
Let's throw them out of this country for the next 6 months. They can come back next year.
Monday's kind of a day to catch the breath. All right. Rays and Jays will do their thing through Sunday. Monday, catch your breath. And then Leafs Lightning begins on Tuesday. An entire nation. Entire nation Okay. Getting as religious as they can get, all over a deflection in traffic. Love it. Hockey playoffs start Monday. NBA playoffs start in earnest tomorrow. Heat trying to be a part of it. They need to win tonight against Chicago so that they can go lose in 4 or 5 games to Milwaukee. I mean, come on. Does anybody think they're going to take more than one game?
I can't argue with you. I'd like to say, well, you're wrong, David, because of this and this and this. I mean, my goodness, Alejandro Solana doesn't think they're, listening to him. I wonder if he thinks they're going to beat Chicago tonight, for crying out loud.
Listen, is this the last relevant game the Heat play for a while? I mean, the picture you and I have painted, we think they're in the worst spot you can be. They are in the middle of nowhere.
Their big three's not good enough.
No, and they have nothing around them. And they have no financial flexibility to go get stuff around them. And they have no assets that anybody wants.
Oh, yeah, they don't have any draft picks either.
So besides that, Mrs. Lincoln, how's the play? So to us, they have to break up Bam, Tyler Hero, and Jimmy Butler. Well, the obvious one is Jimmy Butler. He's 32. I mean, that's the one. And he's a 2-point guy in a 3-point league. Tyler Hero at least shoots the 3, and he's very young, 10 years younger, for goodness sakes. And Bam's, some semblance of a big. Now, he's a 4, not a 5, but still, got to have somebody. And what can you get at this stage of his career for Jimmy Butler? And is that going to be enough to all of a sudden make you playing relevant basketball? Or the Heat actually, do they really need to suck? Do they need to make sure next year they're in the lottery? I mean, Mark, this could be the last relevant game the Heat play for a couple years.
They don't have many pieces that anybody wants. That's right. The problem. They can't be dealing off parts. That's the key to someone else. They don't have those.
I mean, we asked Keith Smith yesterday, if you could be the GM of the Heat going forward or the Magic going forward. He goes, Magic. Magic went 29-28, by the way, in the last 57 games of the year. I mean, if we queued this up right now and everybody played it out, the Magic would at least be in the play-in. They'd be in 8, 9, 10. And they're going to get another lottery pick, and they have a ton of money and a ton of assets. I mean, seriously, they could get Jimmy Butler. They could get Damian Lillard. It's tough. If the Magic really want somebody, Mark, it's kind of like Oklahoma City. If Orlando and Oklahoma City really want to acquire somebody, it's tough to find another organization who's got more they can offer. I mean, that's why there were some people saying that when Durant was requesting a trade, that somebody needed to pull him aside and go, you want to be a hero again? Go back to Oklahoma City. Team up with that, that Gauskas guy and that Alexander guy, and just you two would destroy people. And they could pull that trade off. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's the guy I was, fumbling all over there.
But that's not Durant's MO. He wants to go to the team he can possibly go to.
No. But I would have said to him, did you see how well it worked for LeBron in Cleveland? He got to wear the white hat again. And he delivered him a title. He'll always be a hero. You want to be a hero? Deliver a title to Oklahoma City. You can do whatever the hell you want.
21,000 is the text line, 21000. What do you do if you're the Heat? Are you comfortable with them trading Jimmy Butler in the offseason to try to fix this? And we've been talking a lot of Rays today, obviously, as they've completed their Baker's dozen to start the season.
Yeah! Line them up, knock them down. This is bowling. That's all this is. What was it, 101-30? Not even competitive. What are we, the 85 Bears? Please. 72 Dolphins? Come on. Just give us a game, will you? Could you give it? I don't know. Could you find like the 98 Yankees? Could you give us an opponent that'll give us a game? Please.
Actually losing yesterday looked like it was going to be the end for a moment.
I know. I turned the game on. It was 3-1 in the fifth. I literally turned around to no one in particular, said, "What the heck is going on out here?" My Lombardi impression from the NFL Films days.
That's about the same time I turned it on.
I did.
Caught the big inning, and all of a sudden, well, that's the end of that.
Okay, it's good. This sucker's over. Back to you in the studio. By the way, how great a gig is that? Okay, being a part of the Rays broadcast right now. First off, the games are flying by. Secondly, it's nothing but winning recaps. Before the game, you get to talk about how great they are. After the game, you get to talk about how great they are.
And hell, when you lose one, you still get to talk about how great they are.
Nobody says no to a pre- or post-game interview. I mean, this is the best gig in the world right now. And 21,000 people showed up at the game yesterday.
I will say, you got to at least pay attention to what's going on with their pitching right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Two starters out. That's not a good sign.
They're hoping both are minor injuries, though. Eflin just a back stiffened up, and Springs yesterday. They're hoping that was just a little something in the elbow area, but nothing major. Hoping it's just 15 days on the IL. We'll see.
And just as expected, Taj Bradley sent back down to Durham. He was optioned back down. He was up for the one start. It was his time to start. That was never going to be a long-term call-up, at least not at this point in the season. But now we shall see what they're going to have to figure something out if Springs is going to be gone for a couple of starts.
Now, they think they had two guys ahead of Bradley that if needed, they'll probably go to one of them, but we'll see. I mean, obviously they're a good spot. We know the Rays. They got somebody down in Durham who's young and cheap and good.
And throws 95 miles an hour regularly.
Yeah, really. And besides, this could really throw off their young players, though, Mark. They've been used to, when they were in Durham, playing before, a certain number of fans, they'd go to the majors, it'd be the same number of fans. So it didn't feel all that different. Now, starting to get good, 21,000 start showing up. They may show up at the show and go, I'll be damned, this is the show. Where before it felt like Durham with a dome.
Unless they got called up, of course, for a road game where there were big crowds.
Oh, what? Wow. Oh, wait, we're in Oakland. Hell, I played before more people in the Florida State League.
Kevin Weiss hosts the Locked On Rays podcast. He's next to talk more about those great Rays on Miller and Moulton. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, Or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Yes, he did, Gator Dad.
He did. And their game on Wednesday got rained out. So it's 102 games and counting. They play again tonight. By the way, the Florida gymnastics team made the finals. They're one of four: Oklahoma, Utah, and LSU. The star, Tiffany, I believe her name is, she came back, competed in 2 events, and apparently nailed them both because she got hurt.
Kevin's on hold.
Trinity, I believe.
Oh, not Tiffany, Trinity?
Tiffany Thomas.
Yeah, double T. I know that.
Well, you're.
I was halfway.
You were really close.
Yeah.
I've got all of them. We taped everything last night. We'll tape everything. This is the end all be all for my wife.
Well, yesterday's biggest gymnastics day, arguably of the year. That's 8 teams narrowed down to 4. Right? Yeah.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. The bonus hour for those in the 239 is coming up at the top of the hour. Final segment of the week in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. And we end it talking about who else? The Rays. 13-0, matching the best start to a season, well, since the beginning of the 20th century. Anyway, Kevin Weiss, he covers the Rays. He co-hosts the Locked On Rays podcast. You can follow Kevin on Twitter, Kevin Weiss _ Kevin Weiss, WEISS _. Kevin, it's David and Mark. Thanks for making time for us. How about this, huh?
Yeah, it's remarkable to say the least. I don't think anybody had this on their bingo card, considering an off-season where there was a lot of disappointment because the Rays didn't acquire a lefty power bat or a veteran name. And then, lo and behold, I mean, where they're at right now, it's pretty awesome that the Rays have led off SportsCenter of late. That doesn't happen very often. And we also have to give kudos to the schedule makers at MLB for giving the Rays a little bit of a bump there, where you have the Tigers and the Athletics and the Nationals, and then, of course, you get on to Boston. And the schedule's going to get tougher as we get into May, but it's just all good vibes around for the Rays organization and the fan base as well.
Well, there's no doubt there, and it's seemingly every night it's a different guy. But yesterday afternoon, I mean, they're playing baseball, Kevin. The big play in yesterday's game is a bases-loaded bunt single.
Yeah, it's really, you hit on it, how just every game there's somebody different that steps up and contributes and makes a difference. It's not just, hey, we have to trust or rely upon Wander Franco or Randy Rosarina to be the hero. It's somebody. It'd be a bunt, it'd be taking an extra base, it'd be a sacrifice fly, it'd be an RBI single up the middle. There's just, this team is just so dynamic in so many different ways. And I think the rules changes, the Rays have absolutely capitalized on that. And it's a fun brand of baseball. I mean, we're seeing so much excitement and activity. It's not just the, last year and previous years with the Rays and other organizations, it was the three true outcomes. You're either going to strike out, hit a home run, or walk. And we're not seeing that anymore. We're seeing a lot of movement. We're seeing a lot of activity. And it's crazy. Like, I know bunting had really gotten out of vogue as of late, but now it seems to have a resurgence where every time I turn on the game, it seems like somebody's laying down a bunt. I mean, we have Randy Rosarina laying down bunts, in addition to guys like Bedell Bruhan, for example. So, it's really an exciting brand of baseball that the Rays are playing. Of course, I mean, they lead the league in runs scored. They lead the league in homers. They lead the league in a lot of other offensive categories. Again, it's a long season. I don't know if it's all going to hold up. Health is really, really a big contributing factor to all of that. But, sometimes it's the number 2 hitter that steps up. Other times it's the number 8 or number 9 hitter. So, and these guys, too, are just having fun. Like, you can tell it. We talk to reporters, and we get kind of the vibe from what they see. And just, this is a group that loves each other and has fun and really gets along. And there's something to be said for that, the clubhouse chemistry and the camaraderie. And I think some of that has to do with the Rays having that continuity from previous seasons. It's not like they had to go in and get rid of a bunch of players or bring in a bunch of new players. It's a more or less the same group, and I think that adds a little bit of a factor as well. So, you hope that they keep it up. Again, it's a very long season, and we're already seeing
not to be a Debbie Downer here, but we're already starting to see the injuries slowly, surely pile up. I mean, now, as of today, we have, 3/5 of the original starting rotation that is out for the count with Springs, Eflin, and Tyler Glasnow. So that's going to be one of the hurdles to navigate going forward, too.
Well, we know Glasnow's coming back, and we know Eflin, I mean, it's a stiff back, and they're playing it safe. The Springs one, though, is the most concerning. Anytime any pitcher says, I felt something in my elbow, I mean, that's got to be the one that everybody has to be concerned about, right?
100%. Yeah, you can kind of deal with a lower back issue or an oblique issue, but when a pitcher mentions elbow, shoulder, wrist, hand, whatever it may be, that becomes a red flag. And as of talking to you all, I don't think there's been any reports on the latest of that, but you just kind of want to hold your breath and cross your fingers because it could be several months that he's out. And it's really unfortunate because he has just been, I mean, arguably the most impressive starting pitcher so far this year and really got off to the best start. And he had a lot of motivation in that outing versus the Red Sox because that was his former team. That was the organization that DFA'd him twice and could never get him right, if you will. So, and of course, he had just signed the multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract. So there were a lot of lofty expectations for him and a lot of storylines and just it was supposed to be a really, really good season for Jeffrey Springs. I mean, you could argue that with what we've seen so far with his repertoire and the development and the implementation of the changeup, that he would be a guy that on most organizations, he'd be a strong number 2. And, on the Rays rotation, as stacked as it is, he's a number 3, number 4. But, so you hope it's not a season ender or something that keeps him out for 3-4 months, but it'll be wait and see mode. It's one of those things where the guys in AAA, they better get ready. We got to see what Luis Patino can bring to the table, what Yanni Chirinos can bring to the table. We saw a little glimpse of Todd Bradley. We'll see if he can keep it up and maybe have more staying power when he gets called up again. So there's definitely questions out there.
Well, obviously, I think the easy answer to this would be winning 13 in a row. But outside of that, what's been the most pleasant surprise of what you've seen out of this team so far? Because there's a bunch of different areas you could point to.
Ooh, yeah, that's really good. I would just say the power that we've seen across the board. I mean, there's so many guys that have 3, 4, 5 home runs and being able to step up in different moments as well. That was the big question coming into the season was, where is the power going to come from? Because, of course, you had Brandon Lau that was recovering from injury last season, and just the numbers didn't really bear anything. But I would say the power from across the group, I could see this team being similar to the 2019 Blue Jays, where you had, basically 10 guys who hit at least 10 to 12 home runs. I don't know if there's anybody on this roster that's going to knock out 30, but I think you're going to have a long list of guys who have, anywhere between 15 to 25 home runs. So that's one thing. The other thing, too, is just the growth and development and the confidence of the young position players. We're seeing a different mentality and performance from guys like Josh Lowe and Vidal Brujan, guys that have been on the ranked as top prospects in the organization, and they really disappointed last year. I mean, Josh Lowe was supposed to be the saving grace for the franchise after the Rays traded Austin Meadows, and that just never happened last year. But he's playing with a different energy, and he was mic'd up in a game the other night, and he almost has a little bit of Kevin Kiermaier vibe and outlook to him, just a real energy builder, if you will. So Josh Lowe, Vidal Brujan, Luke Raley, very unheralded player. He stepped up in multiple fashions as well. So I would say, probably those two things: the power overall, and just some of the young guys really coming forward. And there's more on the way. There's guys like Curtis Meade and Kyle Manzardo. We've had them on the podcast previously, and those guys before long, the Rays somehow, some way, are going to have to find a spot for them because they're very, very talented hitting prospects as well.
And the podcast is called Locked On Rays. Locked On Rays. Kevin Weiss is one of the co-hosts. You can follow Kevin on Twitter, Kevin Weiss, WEISS _. Kevin Weiss _ How much do you think the World Baseball Classic has played a role in the Rays' terrific start? They had 12 guys. Now, not all 12 are on the roster right now, but I mean, they had 12 guys playing in the WBC, and I think it's really helped Arozarena, who seemingly doesn't even get involved in a season before Memorial Day, but he obviously had a terrific WBC. How much do you think the WBC has helped the Rays?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big factor. Randy in particular, Isak Perez, Harold Ramirez as well. But Randy Arozarena, there was a lot of storylines in the offseason with him. He never really used scouting reports or listened to what the coaching staff and front office told him as to how opposing pitchers are attacking you and how to best kind of more cerebrally think about an at-bat. So I think, finally getting that first big paycheck and then all the pomp and circumstance from the World Baseball Classic, that's given him a little extra punch and motivation to start the season. Now, Randy is historically a player that he'll go on a really big heater and then slow down. So I'm really curious to see. I think he's absolutely riding off the high of the World Baseball Classic and just that enhanced level of competition as opposed to a rumdrum spring training game where you're playing a couple innings and your head's not really in it. I mean, these guys were really focused and intense and trying to be in the best shape and be as prepared as they could for those types of games in the WBC. So I think it's absolutely translated to the Major League season. But I really want to see Randy keep it up for a full season and be as consistent as possible, because that's been the thing is sometimes his head can be out of the game. And we saw last season with the amount of double plays he grounded into and the amount of cut stealings he had and some other boneheaded plays as well. But he seems to have an extra internal focus to his name. And he's another guy that brings a lot of excitement and energy and is a rallier. The fan base absolutely loves him with, the different hijinks that he has going on. So is he going to, for the entirety of the season, have a .314 batting average and .928 OPS? No, I think he'll come back to earth a little bit. But it always seemed like with Randy, if you look at the numbers, I mean, he's always had really good numbers in his career with the Rays, but it seemed like there was more there. There was some meat on the bone that he was leaving. Like, I think he's talented enough to be a 25, 30 guy, and it just never happened or hasn't happened as of yet. But this could be the year for him. I mean, the Rays are absolutely going to be counting on him, and assuming that guys like Wander Franco and Brandon Lau and Yandy Diaz are able to stay healthy, that should add a little bit of protection and assistance to Randy, where he doesn't have to be the hero or try to have to be the hero all the time and work in one of those situations where, okay, I need to hit a 3-run home run here. No, just move on down the line. Base hit up the middle, base hit the other way, just getting on base. That's all you need to do, because somebody else can help drive you in as well.
No doubt there, and his base hit the other way was a big one yesterday as well. All right, you mentioned the fan base, and Arozarena is a guy that can get the fan base excited. Franco's a guy you want to see at every at-bat. He's worth watching right now. But 21,000 yesterday, and that was with the streak going on. Do you think this can continue? We all know the limitations and the problems with drawing fans, but winning cures all of that. Do you think that this winning can lead to a season where the Rays are actually putting butts in seats on a nightly basis?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's tough. I mean, are they going to average 21,000 for the entirety of the season? No. I think they will absolutely average more than they did last year. I mean, probably somewhere around 17,000. Again, there's a lot of talk and excitement bubbling because of the 13-0 marker right now, but I want to see how many people show up when the Rays are on a 3-game losing streak in June or July, and so on and so forth. But I think one thing that certainly the Rays are, they're making an effort here. They're making tickets affordable. They're making concessions affordable. They're, as best you can. They're trying to really motivate people to come to the ball game. I mean, they've got a promotion going on where you can get a ticket to the game for $10. It might be standing room only. There might be some different circumstances with that and some parameters, but you shouldn't have to spend $60 to walk into Tropicana Field. So I think that the Rays are absolutely making an effort. And then also with the whole stadium situation and the split city nonsense, I think maybe people are coming back around, because there did seem to be a lot of if they're going to Montreal, if they're going to split their season in Montreal, I'm not going to spend another dime. I'm not giving the owner Stu Sternberg any more of my money. But now that has died down, and there's actual talk of building a new stadium in St. Petersburg, Tampa Bay area, wherever it may be, that I think fans are kind of letting loose of that notion and willing to spend money and come to the games again. So those are a couple things I would say as well. And it always helps to have your standout players healthy. People want to watch Wander. People want to watch Randy. People want to watch Shane McClanahan. So I think having a more fun, offense-heavy brand of baseball, and also with, credit to MLB for making some of those structural rules changes that you can get in and out in 2 hours 15, 2 hours 30 minutes, where you don't have to make that excuse of trying to get to and from the ballpark, the ingress and egress to get home on a weeknight.
Kevin Weiss, host of the Locked On Rays podcast, Locked On Rays. You can follow Kevin on Twitter at Kevin Weiss, WEISS_, Kevin Weiss _. Kevin, appreciate your time. Enjoy the run. The Rays 13-0, heading north of the border to face the Blue Jays, looking for 14 tonight.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East. You
are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Yeah, Gavin Brindley is going to be a first-round draft pick in the NHL. Played his hockey in Estero, Florida.
That's awesome.
Was with one of the dads who played in the NHL, whose daughter plays with my daughter. I was talking to Ryan. I'm like, I go, Seamus was the best player. He goes, you're right, he was. I'm like, I know. He was, that kid something. Plays a lot like Jack Hughes, which will be interesting to see what Jersey does because it's the same player. They get another young, fast guy. But he'll be back at Michigan next year. Michigan's got 10 freshmen on that team. 10 freshmen that played. And Quinnipiac, apparently his average age was like 24.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Bonus hour, Miller and Moulton, our final hour of the week. Thanks so much for being with us. Hope you've had a good week thus far. Let's finish strong together here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Rays have won 13 in a row. They head on the road to Toronto. Let's see how long it can continue. Likely to lose a game up there. Best team they've played this year. The Jays, 8-5, I believe. Likely you'll get them once.
Win the series.
Yeah,
Would
totally.
be fantastic.
Absolutely. Just keep winning series. You look up at the end of the year, you're at 100-plus wins. But this 13-0 start. Although Milwaukee in 87 started 13-0, and then a month, 6 weeks later, had a 12-game losing streak. Ouch. I mean, the previous Rays record was 12 in a row. Wasn't it in like 04? I mean, they were lousy. I mean, it wasn't like the 08 team or the 2020 team that won 12 in a row. I think the longest winning streak in Rays history before this one was 12 in a row, and I thought it was the 04 team. Weren't they still the Devil Rays?
When did they make the switch?
I thought before they went to the World Series in 08. They didn't go as the Devil Rays, did they?
No.
So I think it was sometime between 04 and 08. But, man, sport's a funny thing. You know, even bad teams can rip off a winning streak. You know, Kansas City ripped off, what was it, like 11 in a row to start the 2003 season? They barely finished above 500.
But 13-0 off to an unbelievable start in Toronto for a series, as we'll get used to Tampa and Toronto battling one another here in the next couple of weeks, because the Lightning and the Leafs are going to go at it in the NHL playoffs as well.
But, I mean, that team that won 12 in a row won 70 games. I mean, how funny is that?
And the change happened after the 07 season.
Gotcha.
Which I think that was the right move. I like Rays better than Devil Rays. That's not one. If you think about it, all the team names and cities that have changed that we screw up on, no one really ever calls them the Devil Rays. No one makes that mistake.
True. That's true. By the way, the 12-game winning streak ended in Toronto. They had won 11 in a row, went to Toronto, won the first game, and then lost the middle game 2-1. But won the series. And there you have it. But Mark, they won 12 in a row to get to one game above 500. It was late June. They had a week left in June. They ripped off 12 in a row. They were 36 and 35.
And ended up with 70 wins on the season?
Went 70 and 91. From the
means
moment
there was a couple of good losing streaks after that 12-game winning streak, David.
Uh-huh. I mean, do some quick math. They were 36 and 35. All right. They went 34 and 56 the rest of the way.
But when you look at this team, and there are not a lot of holes in this team.
Nope. And if Wander Franco is going to be a star this early in his career, if he's going to be their Acuna, Mark, let's be honest. Is he going to be their Soto? Is he going to be their Acuna? And if so, then heck, you got a 21-year-old star. And it's like, I'll be damned. And we got this guy signed for the rest of the decade, too. I'll tell you what, between Wander Franco and Ronald Acuna, I mean, they only left about $150 to $200 million on the table. No big deal or anything.
Franco's so fun to watch. I mean, even yesterday in a bad game, he's nodding at the pitcher after a good pitch. I mean, he is so engaged in the game. He is someone he's getting close to, and he's very young, but that's a guy that I want to watch every at-bat, David.
Yep, totally. You know where he is in the order, and you're waiting to see, is he coming up next inning? Yep, totally. When you got one of those guys, you're going to games and you're watching games because they're seemingly up every other inning. And that's enough.
And if a Rosarena played for a team you didn't like, you would hate the folding of the arms.
Totally.
But if he's on your team, you love the folding of the arms.
You're walking into meetings at work and you're doing the straddling second, folding the arms, going, so how are sales going this week, boys?
When they took a crowd shot yesterday after he hits an opposite field single to drive in a couple of runs, and he does the little pose on first base, and they show the crowd shot, and there's a middle-aged woman that does it back to him. It's working.
There you go.
It's working, David.
What's going on there? That's our thing.
We're posing in the crowd now.
That's our thing.
They had 3 reasonably wide crowd shots yesterday, David, in which I didn't see Red Sox fans.
Wow. And not only that, most of the seats were filled.
Right.
Yeah. So 13 in a row, heading north of the border. I'm telling you, they're just getting the Tampa Bay sports fan ready for the Lightning. On Tuesday, heading north of the border to face the Leafs. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and say I'm more interested in Lightning Leafs than I am Rangers Devils. All right. But I have to admit it's close just because of the Leafs intrigue. I mean, I don't know if a nation will be able to function. I mean, Canada might drop out of the world order if the Lightning beat them again in the playoffs. I mean, Mark, I will say in 1994, now it was an interesting time in my life. All right. I was finalizing a divorce and yet had met, the woman that I would eventually marry. And I thought that she was special, but I was a mess. And my career was I was unemployed. I was working in a warehouse, making $7 an hour, putting parts in boxes. I mean, I was not in a good place.
Got a number for that parts place?
And I needed, actually, all right, true story. It's located about a mile. My route to that warehouse, I drove past the last house that the Unabomber bombed.
Okay.
In West Caldwell, New Jersey. I literally drove past the house every day at like 2:00 in the afternoon. My shift was 2:30 to 11. Anyway, there are times where you need your team to pick you up. You do. You turn to somebody and they don't understand, because let's face it, as us sports fans, we're not, as balanced as we should be. We should be a little more adjusted than we are. But there are times, I believe, in which you need your team to win. You need to keep the faith. You need to think that good things, if you do things the right way, that good things will eventually happen. I'll say it again. This is the most talented Maple Leafs team in 50 years. It is. It's the best roster they've put together in 50 years. At some point, as a fan, you need your team to live up to it. Because otherwise you just start to think, well, I guess we're never going to win. And Mark, I got to tell you, if the 94 Rangers didn't come through, I don't know where I'd be as a sports fan. I mean, of all my teams, that was the best team that had been put together in all the major sports. And if they didn't win, I don't know how I would have handled it. And I feel like an entire nation is that way. And the Tampa Bay Lightning are like,
That's the problem for the Leafs, is that they've got to get through the Lightning just to start. And there's no guarantees they can do that, because obviously the Tampa Bay Lightning have a pretty damn good playoff history. And this is a really good team. And oh yeah, what do they have between the pipes, David?
They have the best goalie in the world.
Yeah, they have a Vasilevsky. Do you have one of those?
And Mark, let me tell you, much like if you can find a Joe Burrow, if you can find an Andre Vasilevsky, all right, you can go a long way.
You really can. And that doesn't even get into the Bruins and then whatever you get on the other side when that's all said and done.
So, and I think a lot of sports fans can relate to that. That there came a point, like, quite frankly, a Red Sox and a Cubs fan. I mean, there comes a point where it's like, okay, come on, we got to win the last game of the year. I mean, don't expect me to come back from this if we don't win the last game.
Well, you bring it up. Where's Bills fan right now?
Right.
Because that's where they were a year ago.
I mean, at some point, you're like, come on. In a way, it's easier to handle being Detroit Lions fan. Well, you've been lousy. Browns fan, you've been mostly lousy. Hell, you were out of the league for 3 years. But, I mean, when you're good and you can't win at win it, a parade, you start to lose faith. It's only an entire nation. I mean, it's no big deal or anything. This isn't like Rhode Island. It's just a nation.
And they've got to play the Lightning to get things going.
Right. I mean, we might as well be invading them. That's how important this is to them.
I'd take Florida over the whole country of Canada. I think we could take them. Not a doubt in my mind. Edge Florida.
I think it depends on the time of year. I mean, we could be totally distracted by spring break.
We'd have to get it done in the summertime when everybody leaves.
Right. Have to be serious. I mean, can't do it in February and March. You got too many damn Canadians anyway.
They're invading us by late October.
Think about how many traders we'd have.
They'd have to tip a reasonable amount of money.
It is post-Easter, though. I don't like Canada's chances.
Miller and Moulton. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when What's on Tap, all about 25 minutes ahead, right here on the Florida Sports Network.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone, on 5th Avenue in Naples.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
How many teams can you see winning the Cup out of the 16? The Cup.
I don't give Carolina and the Devils a chance to win the Cup.
Thank you. I'm totally with you in the East.
I think the other 4 in the East are all Cup contenders, though.
I agree with you. So we all have Boston, Toronto, Tampa Bay, and the Rangers as winning a Cup. Even though
in the West,
2 of those 4 could easily lose in the first round.
The Kings have been. I don't follow the West that close. The games are too damn late, but the Kings have been playing great hockey as of late. Edmonton's playing really well right now. Colorado's obviously a Cup contender. I don't think Dallas is good enough, even though I know they're on top of it. They're slow. I just don't think that gets done in the postseason. But they've got enough points in Vegas. I mean, how many aren't?
Well, I think it's funny. I actually think, and you're right, Dallas is slower, but, the playoffs can be slower. I actually think.
And Vegas plays that shell style, too, where they slow teams down. So if you're going to say Vegas is a contender, you have to say Dallas is a contender.
Yes, and I'll say Edmonton's a contender and obviously Colorado. So I got 8 of the 16 that can win the Cup. And by the way,
Adam, they are going to be a tough out.
We're talking about 4 series, 16 wins. Okay, any of the 16 teams can win a series. I mean, Winnipeg, their goalie is maybe the second best goalie in the world when he's on top of his game.
This is all because David doesn't want to put his goalie in the top 2.
No, but I think he's one of the top 3. I do. I think when he's on top of his game, he's tremendous. And he's Richter when he's on top of his game. But, I mean, Edmonton finished the season 14-0-1.
I thought the Kings put together an 8 or 9 game winning streak here not too recently.
And Edmonton jumped right over them.
Right.
That's how hot Edmonton is.
Look at the points in the West. They weren't that high, and they all ended up in the 108, 107 range.
7 of the 8 are 100 or more. Even Seattle had 100.
So Seattle's not a contender.
No, they're not. But there's an interesting situation in Edmonton. They got a rookie goalie, Mark. This could be one of those all-time stories. This Stuart Skinner guy took over. And someone just texted me and asked me, am I a believer in Minnesota? No, I am not. No, they got $30 million in dead cap money on their cap because of the two guys they bought out 2 years ago. No, they're not good enough. I mean, think about it. They're going to play Dallas. They better hope they get Dallas, by the way, in the first round. They better hope Colorado wins tonight because they got nothing for the Avs. That Devils Rangers series is going to be beautiful hockey. Beautiful hockey. There aren't many teams that can outskate the Rangers, and the Devils can. Yinzer, come on. Think of the buzz we have. We have Toronto and Tampa Bay, the Rangers, Devils. And you want Toronto and the Rangers and the Lightning and the Devils? Nah. I loved having to get out of your division back in the day. I absolutely loved it. Loved Boston having to go through Montreal. Loved, the Caps having to go through the Flyers and the Rangers and the Islanders. I loved it. Calgary having to go through Edmonton.
I'm all for Toronto and Tampa. It's going to be a great series. I'm all for the Devils and Rangers. I
love going through your division. I really do. I mean, remember the old Norris, Mark? Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, all having to go through each other.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Hockey's taking the weekend off. Man, that's strange. Couldn't end this regular season on a Wednesday and start the playoffs on a Saturday? I don't know. Seems strange to me. Playoffs start Monday night in the NHL. A couple games tonight. One of them's got real meaning out west. 2 of the 4 playoff series are set, but we don't know who's winning the one division, Colorado or Dallas. Colorado's in Nashville tonight. They win the division. They don't win, Dallas wins the division. And that affects the playoff matchups. Our buddy John Forsland and the Kraken are in the playoffs. They're waiting to see who they're going to play. They're going to play either Colorado or Dallas. Much rather play Dallas.
Yes. Trying to figure out what the league would like out of the West to come out. I mean, I think even though it's doesn't draw the eyes, the stars draw. So I think they would want Edmonton go as far as humanly possible.
Connor McDavid, who finished the season 14-0-1, by the way, did Edmonton. They got a rookie goalie who's standing on his head. This could be one of those Cinderella stories, This could be Pete Peters, Ron Hextall, Pelle Lindbergh-esque.
But I think they would want Edmonton to come out of the West because of McDavid.
Boy, that'd be something, though. You sure you want him coming out of the West, or do you want him going to Game 7 of the Western Finals?
And lose to
Colorado. Nathan McKinnon, the team trying to repeat, that sort of deal.
All right. I think Dallas or LA would be bigger for the league than Colorado. But the style in Dallas doesn't make for a pleasant fight. I mean, Colorado and Edmonton bring a style that's terrific to the game. Vegas puts on a great show. Their style is much like Dallas. They're slower. They play in a shell. They're defensive, trying to slow things down. I don't know if they, in the East, take your pick. It's Boston or the Rangers. I mean, they want, I think they can handle Boston and Toronto, although Boston and Tampa would do just fine. And then Boston and the Rangers. I mean, that's what they want.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. They want a Boston Rangers Eastern Conference final. Absolutely. And what's remarkable, considering those two teams are two of the original six, is how infrequently Boston and the Rangers have faced one another in the last 50 years. I think they've played like 2 playoff series against one another in 50 years.
Well, for the longest time, they did it inside division. They weren't in the same division. And then each have had ups and downs. So
it's funny, though. Both have been good. Boston's been better. But both have been good. Both have very rarely been bad. Both almost always make the playoffs. How about that, by the way? First time since 2006 in NHL playoffs without Crosby or Ovechkin. And we've been talking about the Heat and their future. Don't want to necessarily bore our audience, but if we were in Pittsburgh, do we want to talk about the Penguins' future?
They got old fast. Well, not really fast. They've been getting older and staying good. Good enough to make the postseason. Not
getting worse
for a championship.
But slowly getting worse every year.
Right.
But good enough to make the playoffs and think, we're still good enough to make a run. And now Sidney Crosby's 35 years old. And you just got a really good year out of Crosby and Malkin and missed the playoffs. And Letang, who's older than both of them.
And Washington's on the way down.
But Panthers are in. They're in the role of the Columbus Blue Jackets 4 years ago, who were taking on the big bad Lightning, who set all sorts of records. They got no chance against the Lightning. Yeah, they swept them. Well, here are the Panthers. They got no shot against the Bruins. None. Zip, zilch, nada. Boston won 65 games, 135 points. Florida Panthers, are they even a franchise? Here we go. Here we go. Let's do this. It's hockey. Anything can happen.
Funny thing is that they played 4 times this year, did the Bruins and Panthers. They split.
Which is noteworthy because the Bruins lost 12 games, 2 of them against Florida. I don't know if any other team beat the Bruins twice.
I think Ottawa did. That's the other one. Believe it or not. And they missed the postseason.
So here we go. And then, of course, the Leafs and the Lightning, which we've only known that series was coming for 3 months. I mean, literally, you looked at the standings mid-January. You're like, oh, wow, Tampa Bay's going to play Toronto.
But the Bruins and Panthers haven't played since late January, so there's no recency to this series at all. They played most of their games in the last calendar year.
So how funny is that? So when the Panthers were playing badly, they beat the Bruins twice. Now that they're playing really well, they haven't played the Bruins. Interesting. Also, the Panthers probably going with the rookie in the pipes. He's been their guy down the stretch. Listen, Mark, you and I both know it doesn't matter if the guy's 57 years old or 19. Whichever one starts stopping the puck, you're playing.
Well, and it would be interesting whether it's this series or next, whenever someone can put some pressure on Boston to see how they react. I just think they're too damn good. And I know I follow the Red Wings. The Red Wings are a bad team. But when they traded for Bertuzzi from the Red Wings, he was on the Red Wings' #1 line. He's a third liner for Boston. Maybe.
So NBA playoffs begin in earnest tomorrow. We're just waiting to see who the last 2 teams are that are in it. Heat and Bulls tonight. By the way, if you're the league, are you rooting for Chicago? Doesn't the league want the Bulls against the Bucks? I mean, remember, LeBron's not on the Heat anymore. Dwayne Wade's not on the Heat anymore. Who's more national if you're the league offices? You want Chicago or Miami?
Need DeRozan's daughter at as many games as possible between now and the end of the year. Let her scream away.
We didn't talk about that yesterday. Are you okay with that? For those that don't know, Chicago at Toronto, Wednesday night, the playing game. And DeMar DeRozan, who plays for the Bulls, his daughter was sitting front row behind one of the baskets and was screaming, that 8-year-old high-pitched squeal right as the Raptors free throw shooter was bringing the ball up to shoot the free throw.
I have to be okay with it, and here's why. I'm not really okay with it because, David, as you know, my life is consumed by my daughter's sports teams.
Right.
And after every single practice of the soccer team, they all get together and do this little cheer. And it's cute. It's fun. It's actually something you could film and go, look at this. Up until the point when the one little girl, and it's not mine, there's one girl that has the DeRozan daughter scream at that making high C not look high enough level and just lets it rip and knocks the parents out. Could you imagine sitting in any of the 4 rows around DeRozan's daughter when she is letting those high-pitched screams out? Now, they did miss 18 free throws in the game.
I know.
It worked.
I can't believe they didn't walk up to her at some point. I walk up to him and say, listen, we're going to have to ask your daughter to leave or we're going to have to move her. Okay. I mean, does someone in Miami try to recreate that tonight? Do it to DeRozan's team instead. I mean, he's probably bringing her to the game. Don't you have to have a dueling scream off?
Oh, boy. The fans around these kids will love that.
Put one on one baseline, one on the other. Miller and Moulton. We'll wrap things up right after this.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Gerald McCoy just announced his retirement, David. Oh.
What?
Gerald McCoy announced his retirement. Or that just for what it's worth.
A one-day deal with Tampa?
Must be.
It's funny. I like Chicago tonight. And I'm definitely taking the points. 5.5. What?
United Airlines offered to fly DeMar DeRozan to Miami for free. Because DeMar DeRozan was asked after the game if she would be coming to Miami, and he said, no, she needs to go back to school. So, of course, all the reporters were like, DeMar DeRozan in school out for Friday's play-in game. But everyone's anticipating whether or not she'll show up.
Well, Canada Relief, we'll make our picks on Monday. Well, Deadstruck, they have to say that because if they say, okay, we're going to trade him, then his value goes down. So the first thing they're trying to do is play hardball with him to see if he'll get off his contract demands. They can always trade him in October like the Bears traded, Roquan.
He might even be worth more then. Maybe you get a second instead of a third.
The other thing is I might want him, and I know it can gamble, he can get hurt and the whole deal. But, if you put him on the field for a month, hopefully he plays like a madman and his value goes up. Problem is the tag on linebackers is over 21 million. That's the problem. So to play, he's making 11.7 this year. And if you're Tampa, we'll play the tag game. Not at that position. You're not gonna. It's the same thing with a defensive tackle right now. I mean, there are a lot of teams that, man, you want to keep your stud defensive tackle. That market's gone through the roof.
The 33rd team did another mock. They have Will Levis going to Indianapolis third.
It's funny. There are a lot of people that are now saying that Indy likes Levis and they're not going to move and they're going to take him fourth.
Well, you got to be prepared for someone to go ahead of you, though.
I have no problem somebody trading ahead of me taking Will Levis. I can live with that.
Come on now, though. You don't have a problem with that. But if that's your guy, that disagrees with everything we've talked about on this show for over a decade. If that's their guy, they can't.
I just don't believe people are trading up for Will Levis. I'll get beat in poker. I don't believe you have an ace as your whole card. I don't believe it.
10 seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the top of the hour, 16 until we're out of here. The home stretch of Miller and Moulton, not just for Friday, but for the week here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day one, along with some final thoughts. Coming up, boy, it's getting hot and heated. We're getting ready for the playoffs, you could tell. The conversation's got a little edge to it. The draft's less than 2 weeks away. NBA playoffs in earnest tomorrow. NHL playoffs in earnest on Monday. There's a little bit of edge to Miller and Moulton when we're talking during the breaks now. What do you mean? That's what I mean.
Miller and Moulton were playing a game of draft poker during that one right there.
Darn right.
For Will Levis.
I am not trading up for him. Not going to do it. Don't care. Fine, Arizona. You tell me somebody's trading with you for Will Levis. I don't believe you. Not one bit. So that's what we've learned this week, right? Okay, Bryce Young to Carolina.
Right.
And Indianapolis really likes Will Levis.
There you go.
Okay. On the BS meter of 1 to 10, where do you think this ranks?
I don't think the BS meter is that high in Carolina. In Indianapolis, I have no idea. I
saw something last night, which I thought was interesting, in which somebody said that the Houston Texans will not draft Bryce Young, but he will be their starting quarterback this year. Huh. Interesting. What are those deals, huh? Kind of like the Chargers drafting Eli shortly after the Giants picked 4th and took Phillip Rivers, so we had a deal worked out. Interesting. See.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Thanks, Max Hedrum. Appreciate it.
That's really weird. That did not do that the whole week Felipe was gone.
I wonder why. This guy named Webster decided today in 1828 that we needed an American dictionary, and he registered for the copyright for the publication. Today in 1865, President Lincoln was shot. He would die a day later. 1894, the first showing of Edison's moving pictures. 1902, James Cash Penney opens his first store. The Titanic hits an iceberg at 11:40 p.m. today in 1912. It would sink in the early hours of April 15th. 1925, the first regular season Cubs broadcast on WGN radio. They beat the Pirates 8-2. First Volvo premieres in Sweden today in 1927. And only their second season, the Rangers win the Cup today in 28. The Leafs go back-to-back, winning the Cup today in 48. Elston Howard becomes the first African-American to play for the Yankees today in 1955. The Wings also go back-to-back in 55 with the Cup today, beating the Canadians. Motown founded today in 1960, the same day that the Canadians win their 5th consecutive title. The 68 Masters today. Bob Goldby wins because Roberto DiVincenzo signed his scorecard incorrectly. It was his birthday, too, DiVincenzo.
They would have gone to a playoff. And he gave himself, one in error. Like, they were tied. He signed a card which had him with an extra stroke on it. And so they had to count it. I think that's ridiculous. Everybody knew what his score was.
In 71, Nixon ends his blockade against the People's Republic of China. 74, Gary Player wins his second of 3 Masters, one ahead of Weiss. Today in 78, the Grease album hit the shelves. The soundtrack.
Huge. Grease is the word, Mark. That's all I could tell you.
81, the first space shuttle, Columbia 1, returns to Earth. 83, Let's Dance by David Bowie is released. 85, Bernard Langer wins the Masters. 91, Woosnam wins his Masters. In 93, Bill Nye the Science Guy premieres in the U.S. 96, Feldo wins his 3rd Masters.
And 6th and final major, beating Norman by 5.
Yeah, that's not really the story.
No?
You buried the lead there.
In 2000, Metallica, sues Napster, would end the file sharing programs, as I had really increased my file sharing programs during that time. I love Napster. I will fully admit it. Get a good connection, just download someone's whole playlist. It was fantastic. Tiger wins in 2002, becoming the 3rd player to go back-to-back. Adam Scott wins in 2013, and Tiger wins again in 2019. Marvin Miller and Loretta Lynn were celebrating birthdays today. Those are actually having birthdays today. Pete Rose, David Justice, Greg Maddox, Anthony Michael Hall, Anderson Silva, and Sarah Michelle Gellar. What did I miss, David?
A couple of interesting tidbits. I didn't realize this happened. So the Oscars in '69 were today. They had a tie for Best Actress. Huh. How about that? Katharine Hepburn, Barbara Streisand. I'd never heard of that. Can you recall them handing out?
I just recall them handing them out to the wrong people.
Right. But can you recall in the last 20, 30 years saying, by the way, we have a tie?
No.
So that's just found that interesting. By the way, Afghanistan beat the Soviets 35 years ago today. Soviets begin withdrawing in '88.
That was a big win.
It was a very big win. It was a very big win. We had a couple of boycotts, the Olympics over it, the whole deal. By the way, if you want to learn a little more history, Charlie Wilson's War.
The two of us cannot recommend it any more highly.
No. A phenomenal cast. OMG. So there you go. That's what I got.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Well, I mentioned it earlier. We go to the ballpark for the good. The Diamondbacks, the Rangers, the Twins, and the Brewers have extended alcohol sales through the 8th inning this season. The Mets and Marlins have not ruled out changes yet. We will keep you updated as to which team continue to take the beer clock and move it later in the game, since games have become shorter. Don't take concessions away from those owners, David.
No, some owners think it can cost them anywhere from $250,000 to over $1 million.
For the bad, we go to Colombia, where Martin Alfonso Mea is the mayor of Calmia. I don't know for how much longer he will be, because a video has emerged of him going butt-ass naked at a nightclub. While dancing, he whips off his shirt, then proceeds to pull down his trousers and show his buttocks to a group of women. The front side was in view as well. Happened during Holy Week in a largely Catholic nation. I imagine he won't be mayor by the end of the day. For the ugly, we go to Port Orange, Florida, where John Kaiser was speeding away from police in an attempted stop. Police used stop sticks to stop the Nissan Maxima's tires. They were able to apprehend the passenger in the car who was arrested for a slew of things, but that's when John took off. The K-9 unit was deployed. They found him hiding in a large oak tree 2 hours later. It was at that point that he tried to run away in the tree. The shirtless Kaiser was trying to limp from branch to branch before one broke, and the K-9 took him down. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, April the 14th, 2023. Not sure why when you're getting chased by police, you start taking clothes off. I don't get it.
Does it make you faster? I would think, I don't know, the whole wind aerodynamics and all, but I would think the amount of time that it takes you to take off the clothes would, be worse. But I don't know.
He's in a white shirt. No, he's not in a shirt.
I have to admit, every time the police have wanted to talk to me, I've pulled right over. So I don't understand. But that's me. And the one time they knocked on my door, they said, "Are you so-and-so? Do you live here? Do you have a teenager?" Yes, yes, and yes. So anyway, everybody's playing in Major League Baseball, as you would expect on a Friday. No afternoon games. Rays take their 13-0 start north of the border. They're taking on Toronto. Rays are minus 130. Drew Rasmussen against Jose Barrios. Barrios, rough start to his season. Rough start. Got an ERA over 11. This guy was supposed to be their number 1 or number 2 starter. ESPN gives the Rays a 67% chance to win, Mark. Marlins hosting the Diamondbacks.
Your Diamondbacks, who are off to
Yes.
a really good start.
Yep. Interesting. Marlins are minus 160.
Yeah.
You know why? Because Madison Bumgarner is pitching for Arizona. And basically, this is Vegas's way of saying he's done. Put a fork in him. He's
So
got
maybe an overplay in a Marlins game?
I know, especially since Trevor Rogers is pitching against him, and he's 0-2 with an ERA over 6. Over-under's 9. I say we do it. What the heck?
Bet the over in a Marlins game.
Man, what a degenerate bet that is.
That's a terrible bet, and I love every minute of it.
So what's your bet? Oh, I'm betting Marlins Diamondbacks. Wow, sorry to hear that. Oh, no, I'm not betting the game. I'm betting the over. Oh, wow. You must be a real prize.
By the way, don't you have to bet the Yankees hard today?
Why? Just because they gave up 9 in the first against the Twins last night? It is Nestor Cortez against Tyler Mahle or Molly. Nestor's off to a 2-0 start. Twins do have a 3-game winning streak, however, and they do have the best record in the AL that isn't Tampa Bay. Believe it or not, 2 games in the NHL, one of them's kind of important. Colorado's at Nashville. Colorado with a win wins the division. Then they would play Seattle in the first round, and Dallas would play Minnesota. Anything but a win for Colorado, Dallas wins the division. They get Seattle, and Colorado would play Minnesota. So the Wild are very curious as to who they're going to be playing. Got the 2 play-in games in the NBA. Heat and Timberwolves, who both lost Tuesday night. They're both at home, both 5.5-point favorites. Miami hosting Chicago. Timberwolves hosting OKC, the 2 winners on Wednesday. I got to be honest, I'm taking the points in both games. And I like Chicago to win. They're 3-0 against the Heat this year. It's a bad matchup for Miami.
I'll save you the juice. For some reason, the Heat get it done tonight. They played so poorly. 3-point shooting comes around tonight, and they somehow get a win against Chicago.
The USFL begins this weekend. You heard me correctly.
Woo!
Yep. You've got 2 spring football leagues at the same time. NBA playoffs get underway in earnest tomorrow. 3 Eastern Conference series. Brooklyn, Philly, Atlanta, Boston, Knicks, Cavs. And then the nightcap on ABC. Yes, the Sacramento Kings in the playoffs for the first time in 16 years. They're in prime time against Steph and the Warriors.
I think everything in the East goes according to Hoyle. But I do like Golden State.
I do think the Knicks Cavs go the distance, though. I do. I think Donovan Mitchell will end up being the difference. I like the Lakers over Memphis. Memphis has got injuries in the front court. And, we both like Golden State over Sacramento. So we'll take the 6, and I'll take the 7 out west. Have a great weekend. Thanks for listening. Miller and Moulton.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.